Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel. Open Mic 100th episode edition. Woohoo!
There we go. Number 100. Hard to believe it's been all these, months and months and months of a lot of work with a lot of really great people, like-minded people. We don't always agree. We sometimes disagree, not, civilly and have, sometimes warm discussions, but that's what this whole thing has done to us. It's kind of turned us on our head, and we'll talk about the open mic a little bit more here in a few minutes, but first, I wanted to pop that little 100 on there. I'm not going to leave it up. This is a one use only, never be used again. So let's take care of that right now. There we go. Now that's going to look more like it's supposed to look.
Yep.
I apologize. I don't know what's going on with my tablet. It's got like a gigantic screen on it. Anyway, so welcome everyone. Greetings, and for all parts of the world that we're from Australia to America to Scotland, England, and everyone out there listening. We really appreciate you joining us for tonight's podcast. Was able to get finally, we've been chasing this interview for a long time. It's an interview of Roger Raduenz that took place on January 26, 2007, basically, 10 days before trial, something like that. Trial was, like the following week, 10, 12 days. In the interview, this guy, this Roger guy, there was a rumor floating around, and we'll get more into that about this guy Roger and the stealing of Avery's blood. But I'm going to get off more into that in a minute. First, let's greet everyone here in the panel with us on Discord. Alice.
Hello everyone on panel. Nice to see you all. Nice to see Pedro's joined us tonight. Hello everyone in chat. It's fantastic to see you all, and I can't believe that we're at 100 already, Jack. I mean, we're not that we're addicted or anything like that. We could put it down any time we want, but
Sure we can. Right.
Lovely to see everyone in chat, and I can't wait to see what pish is coming out of the Colborn case now.
Yeah, but we're not addicted, right? And of course, here we got the wonderful Cherie, our resident document grabber that's been so wonderful about grabbing these documents. We're going to get into some Colborn stuff here a little bit later too. She's been really great about grabbing these documents for us as quickly as she can, and it's made the process a whole lot easier and easier to follow. How you doing, Cherie?
I'm doing good, and I can't wait to get into the documents either and to hear your latest acquisition.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, yeah. And Susan, unfortunately, is a little sickly, but hopefully on the mend.
Yeah, I'm still nursing my cold, but I'm here. I'm ready for 100.
Woo-hoo. Absolutely.
Woohoo.
And Pedro, I'm not sure, Pedro's had a little connectivity issues, but Pedro's new to our Discord chat. So if you want to say hello, Pedro, you're certainly welcome to do that. Okay, well, that's fine. Dr. Silkman, hey, thanks for coming.
First of all, welcome to everyone on the panel, and welcome to everyone in chat. And Jack, congratulations, good buddy. You made 100 not out. You haven't lost all your hair or your brain cells. And let's hope for another 100 more. And congratulations. You've done a fantastic, and also other members, of course, done a fantastic amount of work. Congratulations.
Thanks, Doc. And as I said, this was really never for me. It was a suggestion, by. We'll talk a little bit about this now. We might as well. We put so much effort into this, and it was a suggestion, and I can't remember exactly how it all came about. There were a number of us talking in Discord, talking about another format of doing a podcast, and well,
thank God we haven't lost our minds.
I'm telling you, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I've never seen Alice looking so beautiful. I must add.
That is a really interesting look, Alice. Yeah. That's fantastic, actually. I had no idea you would dress up like this for the 100. Imagine what you're going to do at the 200.
Well, had to do something funny. It's the 100th episode and it's Halloween, so happy Halloween, everyone.
There you go. It is Halloween. So, yeah, I mean, the open mic, it was, I wanted to be a part of the whole, everyone doing research and getting ideas out there and getting documentation. That was always a real attraction for me with the case, and being able to get this and put it out there in your own voice. There's always a danger there, at least from my view. I'm not saying everyone should or needs to agree with me, but I never ever wanted anything that I did to overshadow anything that we were trying to do. I wanted it to be about the information, never about me personally or anyone else. To me, that can never be an interference. Now, obviously, there are people out there that can really present information in a really good manner. Doc, you're one of them. You have many years of teaching and doing various things in your world that you came from, and that shows. And to have that ability, I think, is really important. At the same time, I never want anything that we do to overshadow the information. I know you feel the same. I know you do. You want good information out there for people to make up their own mind, right? So anyway, getting into the open market, it's kind of the format changed slightly, but the basic premise of the open mic is that anyone that wants to come and talk about the case, as long as they come on in and are civil, they're welcome. That was I'll hand it off, and most hosts are not necessarily willing to do that, but I am. You take the mic and talk, as long as things remain civil and we can kind of stay pretty much on our topic. You don't want to venture too far outside of what you've told people you're going to present that night. I'm okay with that. So anyway, with that said, big thanks to everyone that's been a part of it along the way. And, who knows what else will get presented as, time goes on. So, hey, there's Mystic Jinx. Looky there.
Hello.
How are you?
I made it. I had to have my dinner first.
Hey, well, okay.
Happy 100.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yep,
I was for the first one, so I might as well be for the 100th.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, you've been in many of them, and your input, is appreciated. You're a valuable researcher. You have a good insight, and always welcome. And that's and
thank you, because it gives me an outlet, for that research too. So thank you for having an open mics.
Yeah,
that started all with one question. I just want to give a little shout out to Linda for that question. It was like, out of the 3 things, what would you change? One of them was like community, and that was the most popular one that I remember, or at least that was my answer, which I hope was the most popular one. Don't tell anyone.
I remember.
That was like the very first one that we did was
Yeah.
that one question. So
That's right. So yeah, that was another part of it, having another outlet that where we could just present information, talk about it, beat it back and forth, agree, disagree, move on to the next, as Big Jeff says. So that was another, I think, interesting part. And of course, the sharing of the actual documentation, and I would say 98% of everything we presented has been shared in the video description. I try to always share everything we present. So with that said, I think that, let's talk about, let me pop this on the screen here. Give me just 1 second. Oh, I do owe Dr. Silkman an apology for yesterday. I didn't notice it until after we were done, and Alice brought it to my attention, and then I actually looked, and I removed it now. And I had the thumbnail correct that shows on YouTube. The actual thumbnail is correct. But the live background thumbnail for yesterday was Reading with Uncle Ken. So
that probably scared a few people.
Well, it's I mean, in OBS or Prism, either one, you have sources that you can. That's where you draw your stuff from that you see on screen. And I just had never removed the Reading with Uncle Ken. I don't know. I just wasn't paying attention to it. And I guess the rest of us didn't either. But it's gone now. I have removed it. It's gone now. So
you've exercised that demon.
It's excised.
It was actually Sherry Lynn that noticed it last night, and she put it in the chat, and she's like, "Has anyone noticed that it says Reading with Uncle Ken?" And I was like, "What?" It looked, and at the bottom it was Reading with Uncle Ken, and I was like, but we were already in the swingy thing, so I just thought I'll mention it, and hopefully you can change it afterwards. So
no, you can't really change it once it's done. It's a done deal, and it's fine. Like I said, the main thumbnail is correct. It's in the correct playlist, so It's all good. But it's gone now. It's not going to happen again. I didn't even think about it.
Everyone in chat, Jack.
Yeah,
unless Mr. Kratz writes another book.
Hey, that's true. Yeah, let's do that.
That's true.
Let's do that, Alice. I'm getting ahead of myself here.
Yeah.
Go for it. Go for it. Name them off. Let's say hello.
Right. Let me just scroll. We've got Clive. Hi, Clive. We've got Sherry Lynn. We've got Darkside. We've got Sister Neverly. We've got Bethany. We've got Case 10. We've got Angie Dickinson. We've got Cher. We have West Virginia. Bethany. Andy B. We have the Jinxie in the house. We have Pete Moss, Nan's Life, Rhonda SD, Disco Pervert, hello lady. We have TTM Fangirl, hello. We have Paul Ward. We have Miss Susan in chat. We've got Graham Moss.
Here's a new one. Cherie. There's I see Colette. Hey, thanks for coming, Colette. But Under Your Scars. Never saw that name. Welcome to the. Yep. Anyone else?
Yep. Under Scars was in last night as well. They were in chat last night as well. So it's lovely to see them. We've got JD.
Behind the magic.
Behind the magic, we've got Hugh Fraser, and we've got Iced Coffee. We've got the lovely Catnet, Supermod.
Oh dear.
We've got Ian Rose from Manchester. Hello, Ian Rose from Scotland. We have.
There's Ronald Cass.
And Ronald Cass, yep. And I think that's us got everyone for now. If I've missed anybody, you might have been further up the list, so pop another wee hello in there and we'll get to you as soon as we can. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining.
Thanks, Alice. And I do have a question for case 10. I'm just curious, is that the type of combine or not necessarily combine, but tractor that you have there wherever you're at? It sounds like you're definitely in the Midwest doing something on a case type tractor. That's I thought about that the other day, and I thought, maybe that's the kind of machine that he has, brand. There's John Deere, and there's all kinds of different ones. So Case is another big one that is used heavily in the mid-Nebraska, and where they grow so much corn and soybean and all kinds of different things that there's just huge tracts of land. Anyway, back on track. So this interview that I'm going to play, it's roughly 21 minutes long, and we'll break it up at a natural point, discuss, move on. There's nothing, overtly revealing in this call or this recording. It's not a call, this interview. It is funny, though, that we chased this damn interview quite frankly, for years. And this was one of the items that I requested. Again, I had requested this before and got denied, but I requested it again at the end of August. The first DVD that they sent me, it had one file on it. It was unnamed music file or something, whatever it's called. But the file type I couldn't play anything from it. So I emailed them and said, it's unplayable. You got to send me another copy. I can't play that file type. Windows will not recognize it. Send me another one of the exact same thing, a week later. So I emailed them again, said, look, it's unplayable. It will not work. And I got one yesterday right before the reading with the crew, and I didn't have time to play before we went live. That I did play. I popped it in last night. It's a really strange, and I'll maybe dig into this more. Maybe someone out there that's more computer savvy than me can tell me. This particular DVD, after we got done last night, I popped it in my external DVD player, and boom, after it spooled up, it started playing. The interview just started playing like it was supposed to do that. And so I opened up Windows Explorer, to look at the file, and it doesn't show anything. It just shows the DVD. And it shows, when you go to right click and click properties, it shows 0 bytes, as if there's nothing on the DVD. But there's definitely a recording on there. I've recorded it. So I don't really understand the technology of what's going on. All I know is that we have a recording. This recording wasn't that, it's not terrible, but it wasn't great. The volume was pretty low. So I recorded it and turned it into an MP3. I contacted our wizard with sound and all things audio, Andy B, and asked him if he had time to run it through his wizard machine and clean it up. And he did. And so I'm going to be playing that recording. Thanks again, Andy. You're such a, it's such a really nice thing and cool thing that you do. That you do this for a living, and we all really appreciate it. I can tell you that. So, hey, Disco Herbert, we've got a big green thing here. Foul play obsessed. Woohoo! Yeah, you're not addicted. No, you're not. Did Disco join us here on this? No, you're certainly welcome to come in. Anyway, so let's get back to this interview. So this Roger Raduenz, there was a rumor that was floating or flying around that allegedly that, and you'll hear some of this in the interview, that Roger and some other people had stolen some of Stephen Avery's blood and gotten it broken out of the jail or the prison, whatever. That's talked about. There's a number of things. This interview was done by Gary Steer and Wendy Baldwin from the Calumet County Sheriff's Office. As I said, you can see it there on January 26th again. And this is just like a week before trial, week and a half, whatever the hell. So I thought that's pretty interesting. So with that said, let me pop this off and we'll get the recording pulled up. Okay. Audio. And yes, Sherilyn, I'll promise once we get done listening to this, if there's any questions we talk about. It's always better, this interaction between officer and someone that they're talking to. It's always better to hear the audio, and it's even better if we had a video. Unfortunately, we don't hear, but this interaction is always important. Tone of inflection of voice and that kind of thing. So, all right, I've got this pulled up here. Anyone that's here in Discord, you're going to have to unmute YouTube, as always. And we'll play a few minutes of this, and I'll try to find a natural break for us, and we'll pause and discuss. As always, Doc and anyone here that's in the chat, if you have a question you want me to stop prior to me stopping automatically, just say something and I'll pause the recording. So, all right, here we go.
We're investigators from the Private Crime Shooting Department. We're investigating Teresa Hallbach's murder. Teresa Hallbach. What we want to talk to you about is some guy, I think his first name is Tom.
That's it, the guy from Two Rivers.
Yeah, okay. You remember?
He's always in jail.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, 95% of the time he's in jail.
Do you know Steve Avery at all?
Only from the junkyard.
Okay. Were you ever in prison with him at all at the same time?
Probably was, but not
Did you ever
contact with him.
Okay. Did anybody, while you were in prison, did anybody ever give you anything to take out of the prison?
No.
As far as blood or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Do you know the story?
No, I was out of there before that happened.
You were never in the prison?
I was out of there before that happened.
Before what happened?
I was out of there in 89.
Okay.
Before what happened? What are you talking about?
Before any of the shit with Avery. I hear talk on the street.
Sure. And that's what we want to talk to you about. And that's why you were saying, can we just talk here? Not in the hallway, but we can talk here, that's fine, wherever you want to talk. We had some information. We're looking to talk to you to see if you can tell us whether it's truthful or not. Okay?
Whatever I say is hearsay.
No.
It don't pertain to
You
it.
personally.
It can't hold up in court anyway.
Yeah, well, Steve, you're right. But I'm just talking about what you know personally. If you know anything.
Nothing,
that you would
nothing.
Tell us.
The only thing I know is that I went out there to buy parts. That's all I know.
Okay. But you never had contact with Steve in any prison?
No,
Were you in a couple of different prisons?
just Kettle Moraine.
At Cal Moraine?
Well, except going through the indoctrination center.
Okay. And were there people there that were like mutual, like, say, you had a friend that knew Steve Avery, that type of way in prison?
No.
There was never anybody like that?
No. Oh, wait, I was in jail with him once when I went through. He was in the Manawha County Jail at the time.
Okay.
The first time, when he was charged with that rape case.
Okay.
They treated him like shit up there.
Back in the 80s?
Yep, they treated him like shit up there.
When,
That I'll say.
did you actually meet him or just,
No, I was in the same cell with him.
you were in the same cell?
Or not cell, but cell block. They
Cell block.
treated him like shit.
Okay. Did he have any people that didn't like him in the inside?
It seems like everybody didn't.
Okay.
I mean, at the county jail.
I mean, like inmates, people that were inside the jail. Do you have any people that disliked him? That people that were doing time?
In the jail?
Yeah.
Well, no, because he separated. He hadn't gone to trial and I hadn't gone to trial. So you don't see no other inmates except the ones
There's no chance.
that you're housed with. And they're only housed separately from the ones in prison to the ones.
Were you aware of anybody that had any blood of Stephen Avery while you were in that jail, Manawha jail, or in prison?
Never even heard about it. They didn't even talk about DNA back then. There was no talk about DNA back then.
Right.
It didn't come about till after 90
Okay. Did you happen?
that I know of.
Did you happen to tell somebody a story about Stephen Avery's blood? That guy that you had given a ride to? about that some guys that had Stephen Avery's blood?
No,
Is there any reason that you would know Teresa Hubble?
no,
Have you ever seen her, heard her, talked to her before?
no,
Would there be any reason why you would tell some kind of story that you would know her? And that you had contact with her?
no,
You know why he would?
to get me in trouble,
Why?
because he's that kind of person.
Why is he, what kind of person is he to get you in trouble? Why would he want to?
He's a police. He's an asshole. That's why he's living on the streets. I tried helping him out, getting him a job and all that shit. He didn't want that. He wanted $20. Oh, he give me $20. You know, shit like that.
Give me like an estimate of a year and kind of a, when did you guys give him a,
2 years ago,
2 years ago? So
when I was still driving semi.
okay, so in all.
I was up there because I was,
Right, but that'd be in 2005.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
right,
In the summer of 2005, in the fall, when?
Winter.
In the winter of
Winter.
2005?
he was staying at a motel on,
In Green Bay or?
yeah,
Okay.
can't remember the street, but I can see the place.
Valley Inn?
Yeah, that could be it, right downtown. That's where he said he was staying. When I went there to see if he was there, they didn't know anything of him, they didn't even know his name. So that was a bunch of shit too. In other words, the person at the motel didn't even know him. Never even heard of him, even when I asked him for, you know, give him a description, he said, really, no, he's never been here.
Well,
But that's where he told me he was living.
Okay, you were driving truck in fall of 2005? Like semi truck? What were you doing at the end of 2005?
Semi,
For a company, like that?
dedicated system,
Dedicated system?
out of Green Bay. I was never here. I was always in Texas or Florida or Louisiana, Atlanta.
Okay.
So I was never up here. And when I got up here, I'd stay 1 or 2 days and then be right back down again. That's the only way you make a living with a semi.
Okay.
If anybody tells you different, they're lying.
Oh, it was over the road.
Right,
Going for weeks at a time, huh?
right. No, not weeks. A week at a time.
A week at a time? You'd be
But you
back?
come back here for 1.5 days and then you take off again.
Okay.
Most spend here is 1.5 days
Where were you living back in 2005?
in the truck.
You didn't have a residency
No,
apartment?
P.O. Box 502, that's it.
You're living in the truck.
No.
Was there anything like, do you know where you would be, where you normally haul to? I know you said you were hauling all, but
Well,
October, November.
I got logbooks and stuff I can,
Okay. Do you still have those logbooks by chance?
sure.
You do? Do you have them at your place right now?
Well, I ain't gonna say that, they're probably gonna get stolen now. You probably send some thief over to grab the shit.
No. You're confused.
No, I know better than that. I don't trust that either.
Okay.
No, it always. I don't know. I know who you say you work for,
Uh-huh.
but they ain't always honest either. Okay.
All right. This guy that you gave a ride with is saying you tell him a story of how you smuggled out some blood
No,
from prison.
no,
Yes.
no. I never was with Steve.
This is why we want to talk to you.
I said that was before or after I got out of there. That all that stuff happened with Steve
So there
was
never,
after I got out of Kilburn.
nobody ever gave you any.
I was in 98 and I was with the guards anyway. I wouldn't have done it anyway. Because I worked in the tool room in Kilburn.
Nobody ever gave you any.
So I had clearance with the guards to handle tools and do maintenance work.
Okay.
And you don't get that clearance if you ain't trusted. And I would never do anything like that to start with because that would break my trust and I would lose my job.
Okay. So prior to you getting released, nobody handed you any blood.
From any prison, any institution that you were at, whether it be Fox Lake, Kettle Moraine, Dodge, any place, you were never handed any blood, and they said, this is Stephen.
That's what we're looking for. We're looking for you to put this rumor to rest. That's why we're talking.
No.
Because somebody is saying you did it, okay?
And that's what I'm talking about, Tristan.
Yeah.
That's
That
why
I
you
think
had-
what?
That you had his blood, you planted it, you set him up.
And if it's Tom, he's telling a lie. And Tom is a liar. You can break him down real quick, because he lies about everything.
Okay.
Like I told you, he lied to me about staying in a motel. He never stayed in a motel. He wanted the $20 off me, that's all he wanted. Down to the bar, get drunk, head back to the Salvation Army shelter.
Right.
That's probably where you find him.
Well, that's why we're here and why we wanted to talk to you, okay?
Okay?
Because he's saying you're responsible for her murder.
No, I ain't responsible for her murder. I didn't even know her.
Okay. How well did you said you knew?
I was out there maybe a week or two before that happened,
Okay,
looking for parts,
Can you tell me about that a little bit?
but there's nothing there to tell. I just went out looking for parts,
Okay.
and that was it.
Did you personally know Steve at all? Were you
No.
friends with him?
Just from meeting him at the
jail?
At the jail at the
20
time.
plus years ago.
Right.
Okay.
But I knew his dad, but not him. I didn't know any of the kids, but I knew his dad.
Okay. So you're around Al's age?
Right.
Okay.
And me and him used to go to racetrack, or not go together, but we worked at the racetrack, 141 Speedway,
Okay.
and also getting parts from him. But that's the only thing I have to do with the Averys.
Okay. That particular day, what did you go there for? What part? Do you remember? I know it's a long time ago, but
No. Well, I had the van at the time, so that'd be something for the van. Oh, power steering pump.
okay.
A power steering pump for the van.
Did you find it?
No.
Did someone help you? Did Earl or Chuck or Al or someone help
They
you?
didn't have time.
Did Steve? Okay.
They didn't have time.
Did you look yourself for it or?
Well, I found the van, but they said they were junking it out. So I went to Seaside Auto, or whatever they call it now in Shirley,
Okay.
and got my power steering pump.
When was this? When did that take place?
I'm sorry, but we're gonna ask you.
Something we gotta do. You know, I hope you understand, but can you give us a reference as to what?
You said about a week prior to what? Her murder? Or a week prior to what?
Yeah, prior to her murder.
Which would have been,
Do you know what year that would be?
It was in September.
okay.
September of what year?
Must be 05, because I didn't get the van till 05.
Okay. Sorry, we're picking your brain here, but,
All right, we're slightly over halfway done with this, so I'm going to get a little pause here. First up, to everyone out there, and Sherry Lynn Pontello. Yes, I will be making I'll have to create a video out of this, which will be simple to do, and we'll get it in. I'll put it in the interviews playlist. I'll do that. I'll try to do that tonight if I can, because it's going to be a pretty simple video. I really want to try to find a photo of this guy, but I don't think we have one. If anybody knows where a photo of Roger Raduenz is, please let me know, because I really wanted to include that. I'd like to try to do that with people that get interviewed, have at least one photo of them showing. It gives relevance to who they are and who's talking and all that.
Did
Another
he die?
question. You know, I'm not sure. I don't know that, Jinx. I seemingly like I remember somebody saying that or suggesting that, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we could look on the in the newsservice.com and at the obituaries and see if we can find any.
Trucker, he said.
Yeah, I think so.
I think I have a picture. I think he died in 2007, in October of 2007.
Well, that was just 9 months after this interview then.
Yeah.
Damn. Hey, there's Lady Neverly.
So I'm going to stick this right here in open mic for you.
Sweet. Thank you very much. Lady Neverly. I saw you in.
Congratulations.
Oh, there you are.
Jack. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. You've
Where
been a
else
part.
would I be? Come on.
Well, you know, it is
That's
the weekend.
a big day.
I know.
100th episode.
I know, but you know, it is the weekend, and you know, I understand people got stuff.
We are here.
Absolutely. Anyway, you know, this going through this interview, I don't know. They seem like they're picking at him. I mean, not in the same sense that, you know, we hear Fassbender and Wiegert pick at Jody or Dettering or some of the other ones, especially Fassbender and Wiegert. But still, they're picking at him and asking about this blood and this interaction of, you know, way back when were you in prison with him, and you know, he was pretty straightforward though. And for the longest time, you know, I just remember having conversations with people over time that we really thought, because they wouldn't release this damn audio, we thought something else was going on. And you know, you're always surprised sometimes when you come to find out, when you hear that person's voice and basically say, well, you know, I was gone before he got there, you know. And, you know, some of the other interactions about, you know, going to Avery salvage yard and this, and they're continuing to pick at him. And it's really interesting that it's here again, we're a week before, or 10 days before trial, whatever the hell. I think trial started February 7th, and this is the 26th. So 5 days, so roughly 11, 12 days before trial. And here they are, they're still interviewing people. It's just, I don't know. Okay, anyone got anything before I continue on with this recording?
I was just going to say, Jack, 61, they certainly don't take no for an answer, and the blood vial definitely spooked them. You could tell.
It did.
I found it interesting that he's like, oh, they treated him badly in jail, and then they're like, not the officers, the other inmates. Like, yeah, we know the officers treat him like shit, but you know, what about the inmates?
Right, exactly. That was another interesting thing. The guy's an asshole, you know. It's like, I don't know. Contextually speaking, you know, it's always interesting to hear these guys talk about their jail time, and you know, I don't know. Okay, Alice, any questions that you've noticed?
Tom was Tom Bruchart, by the way.
Say that last name again.
Bruchart. I don't know how you'd say that. Bruechert. Bruchart.
Probably.
John Bruchart.
Close enough. Alice, any questions or comments from the chat?
There's a few. Where did I see it? Here says they treated him like shit. Very empathetic. Oh, I've lost it now. Back up again. Regarding Stephen Avery jail in 1985, stated several times. Bethany says, now when did Stephen ever blame this guy? Sure, he's not connected to A23. No, it wasn't Stephen that said it was this guy. It was another guy that said that this guy stole Stephen's blood while he was in the jail with Stephen and planted it and killed Teresa. That's right, yeah?
Yeah, then set him up with that vial of blood. Yeah, that was the rumor.
Yeah.
Stole it 16 years earlier. Is that what they're accusing him of?
Bethany says he's blatantly lying about Stephen, and yet they continue to try and get him connected to Stephen. Could the fingerprints and blood be connected to the unknown prints and blood on the RAV and quarry?
It's a damn good question, Bethany. We'd love to know the answer to it, too. Doc said it very well last night in the reading with the crew about the testing of all this other biological material that we have no idea.
Yeah.
A23, the DNA, whatever that DNA is on the SD A13A, the little SD card, item CX, the fingerprints that were never ran through APIS. Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, and T1 says, why would they go after this lead if it wasn't a possibility? I mean, that's what I don't understand, is why the hell are they talking to this guy when he was in jail with Stephen in what, 89? So that was when Stephen was in for the Penny thing.
Yeah, but they weren't even housed together. They were on different units.
Exactly. But if it's...
Yeah, he said he didn't even know Stephen.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But not only that, I mean, they're talking to him about blood and everything like that. Why the fuck? There was no blood with the Penny Bernstein fucking thing that Stephen was in for.
Nope.
You know what I mean? So why are they talking about blood and him taking a vial of Stephen's blood when that was supposed to have happened in 89? You know what I mean? And Teresa was killed in 2005. It's another one of the fucking...
They're going after a ridiculous tip when there were so many that they should have followed that they didn't.
Exactly. Yes, Susan. Exactly. Exactly.
How many useless tips did they go after? We should put a list to that one day.
Yeah.
I mean, to me,
they didn't go after the bloody tree stump.
No, but to me, Jack 61, it indicates that they actually probably took the planting scenario semi-seriously. And I agree with Susan, right? There were so many other potential leads that they could have investigated, which they didn't. And I think they got pretty well desperate here. Going on a rumor going on a rumor of a rumor, but keep in the back of your mind, they must have been thinking about planting, right? Because remember, Stephen very early on said, look, they've obviously planted forensic evidence against me, and this made them chase down all possible sources of where that blood had come from. Now, remember, the state didn't know about that blood vial, right?
They did it by that time they did this interview. They knew about it.
Right. So they were clearly worried that the blood planting scenario could have been a possibility.
Well, another vial out there that they didn't know about, right?
Correct. And remember, I was going to say, remember, Remica, I think it was Remica who ordered a inventory of all the past forensic evidence belonging to Stephen Avery. Remember the clippings, the hair, the blood vial, and also item W, the swab. So they were really concerned that there was biological material out there that they hadn't accounted for, which is very interesting.
Very. That's an interesting thought.
They do have an interview of this guy, right? That reported this. I believe I've read it before. What's his name, Jinx?
Raduenz?
No, the guy that said that Raduenz did all this.
Oh, there is a report. There is a report of Thomas Bruchard is in there. It is in there.
It's actually it's actually the report directly before this interview,
which was
it's also if you
so it's in queso, Bethany. She's just saying I don't think this is a tip, but
1043 and
1043, correct.
That's the page, and 1046 is the page for Roger.
Yeah.
Now it makes me wonder if there's a recording of this interview. I doubt it, but.
Well, if that was a phone call, right? Like, didn't he call in or something with a tip? I don't know.
I don't know. I'd have to,
interviewed him at his address.
Spell that name for Sherry Lynn again, Jinx.
Bruchart, Bruechert, and it's
Correct.
Thomas John, Jon, not John. It's Jon, John, Thomas John. And he was born 12/28, 1954, and he lived on Redfin Court in Manitowoc. There's a few tips for you.
Hold on
And
just a sec.
the queso page number of
For
the
him is 1043,
On the
1043.
it's on the screen.
There you go.
There you go, Sherry Lynn. You can grab it right there. This is the report directly before the report of
before they
Roger.
interview him.
Yeah, before they interviewed him. Yep. Okay.
And how accurate is that report to this recording? Did you
I
compare them?
I haven't compared them entirely. No. Some of it, I mean, seems to be okay, but I haven't compared it word for word, line for line. I have not.
I haven't
I
either.
am following it. I'm following it on queso, and so far, what they're talking about in the interview is pretty well reflected in the queso report.
And
Well, that's surprising.
just as a side note, because a lot of these reports were written in the narrative, and not only from the queso officers, but from the DCI officers, they report in the narrative, which makes me think that they have recordings of them that we don't know about. I can't prove it, but anyway, it irritates me. All right. Any other questions, comments, Alice, before we continue with the
Just everybody like us basically confused at why the fuck they're even speaking to this person. Clive says, how's this bloke supposed to take Stephen's blood if he's not Stephen's cellmate? Not possible. Exactly. It's I don't understand it. They're just clutching
I
at
thought the story was he was put up to it by one of the officers and was given access to, let's say, the medical unit at the jail where he took it. I thought that was kind of the story. Like, he didn't actually take it like from his arm or anything. It was like he had blood taken in jail, and somebody gave him that blood that was taken in jail, and he was able to sneak it out of the prison when he got out, or something to that effect. It wasn't like like he put the needle in Stephen's arm and took the blood.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Just prison hijinks, I call it. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, but the whole fact is that guy was in jail with Stephen in 1989. What's he done? Kept holding the blood until 2005 because he knew that Stephen was going to do this, so he needed the blood. You know what
ridiculous.
I mean?
And in 89, DNA wasn't as well known or well used, if I remember right.
It was
like
barely used.
96 was like only, what was it, 3 loci or something they were able, and now it's how many can they get now? It's like it was very infant, I guess.
I don't know, Doc would know, 20 or 21, I think, isn't it, Doc?
Back in 96, they did 3. Now I think the FBI demands 20 to 25.
There you go.
Yeah, it's 20
This
now.
guy
and about the
Roger
time
even
of
says
Grace,
that.
it was 13. It's just been going up slowly.
Yeah, it's basically to make sure that the pattern that you obtain is unique.
Right.
So the question would be, why would they need his blood in 89? Like, they didn't have this kind of
The DNA would have still been very much in its infancy. I mean, look, back in 1996, right, when LabCorp did the testing for Steve, they looked at 3 loci and they made 2 mistakes. They made 2 typing errors. So I think for me, the fact that they're talking about blood and blood vials indicates in the back of their mind that they were very, very worried.
Yeah, why else do it? I mean, here they were on the eve of trial, and they're going out and interviewing this guy over a fucking rumor. Yeah, I have to agree. It's really weird.
Did they need someone other than the police to have access to a blood vial? Because otherwise, you only have the police with the access to the blood vial, right? So, like, if it was proved to be planted, then they could say, "Oh, Raduenz framed him," not MTSO, right? Like, is that the whole reason they're trying to get this? Because they were worried about it, like it being planted, and they needed to like have a different vial other than the one that was in police custody.
Well, something had a bug up their ass for sure.
But
Yeah.
and the whole point is that they should have thought themselves, well, he's not been in jail with Steven since fucking 1989, and this is, they're speaking to him in 2005.
16 years later. 16 years later.
Yeah,
Earl 7, was it?
Stashed the fucking blood vial down his boxers and kept it warm up his ass cheeks till fucking 2005, and then decided to fucking do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is stupid. It is so stupid. It is unbelievable.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be too warm up there to hold blood in for that long?
You.
Doesn't it have to be cold?
You. All righty. All right. Let's listen to some more of this. Again, if there's a place you guys want me to stop, you hear something that's bugs you, just tell me. I'll pause the recording. Otherwise, we'll continue on. And if you're here in Discord, you'll have to unmute YouTube. Okay, here we go.
The other thing is, you ever see or pick up anybody on a Highway 43? Because have you ever stopped and helped anybody on Highway 43?
Just the police in Sheboygan.
When
When
I'm
they had
talking
that
about,
girl trapped in the car.
I'm talking about anybody that's broken down, right? Hitchhiker, helped a stranded vehicle, any females like that. Did you ever stop on
No.
43 and helped out ever in your life? Have you ever done anything like that in your life?
We are, when I was at the semi. I don't know which way you're talking, a private van or in a semi or
I'm
whatever.
talking in general.
Because there's a lot of different ways that I travel.
In 2005, did you ever pick up anybody, help out anybody while you were truck driving or driving normal?
Either in your van or driving truck before you quit driving truck. Any females stranded, blown out tires, run out of gas? Did you ever help anybody? Take them to a gas station?
Just the guy from Sheboygan that was in
Gas station.
just what the hell they call it?
Jack
Canteen
61.
truck, where they all go around in these machines.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's giving you a very, very interesting clue right there.
Isn't it?
What on earth are these two officers talking about potentially picking up a stranded woman on the side of the road?
Yep.
Now, let's think about this, right? This whole state's case is the fact that Teresa Hallbach never left the Avery salvage yard, neither her RAV4. It's very interesting that these two officers are now entertaining the possibility that a female, a white female, was somehow picked up or stranded along the road and someone went to her attention. And that brings into question the broken blinker light, right? The fact that you've got blood on the back door. And as you said, Jack 61, the blunt and bloody object. These officers are now talking about another completely different narrative. This is an embedded confession if you've ever seen one. It's right there. And they're talking to Raduenz as though it's potentially a fact.
Yeah.
I'm astounded.
Blown out tire or ran out of gas.
Yep.
What?
Yep. Correct.
Yeah, I heard that when I first listened to this last night, and I thought, what? It is an interesting passage. Anyone else?
To me, that confirms that they're trying to find an out just in case Avery's trial goes badly and they lose it. Then they can say, oh, well, it must have been Raduenz and his clan of buddies that, set him up. They stopped her. They had his vial of blood, like it's almost like they're trying to point all that evidence over his way.
But that indicates Keystone Cop type of material, right?
It does.
And, Mr. Jinx, you're spot on. They're trying to find an alternative narrative that if it doesn't turn out the way they think it's going to turn out, they're going to blame it on the goons, the jail goons, and the fact that they somehow secreted out a vial of blood and set Stephen up.
Crazy.
Right? Is completely outrageous.
It is outrageous. It's crazy. When I heard that, I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I'm going to back that up just a little bit so we can hear it one more time.
If anybody help out anybody while you were truck driving or driving normal?
Either in your van or driving truck before you quit driving truck. Any females stranded, blown out tires, run out of gas? Did you ever help anybody? Take them to a gas station?
Just the guy from Sheboygan that was in what the hell they call a canteen truck where they all go around in these machines. I stopped and helped him.
Okay.
In fact, I fixed the van for him because his boss said I could. He called his boss and all he had was a radiator hose busted off. And if we took and took a loop and looped it around, he could still run the van because he had enough fluid. Or he could pull off the next exit and get the fluid.
You didn't know Teresa Hallbach back in September, or you never gave her a ride anywhere?
Not that I know.
Okay. You know who she is now, though, right?
Just from a picture in the paper.
So you would remember if you'd ever given her a ride?
Not really.
You wouldn't
Not
know that?
not the way that women fix their hair nowadays. You could take a picture of her and redo her completely like they do on TV, and you'll never know if it's her. A lot of women do that because I worked out in Washington State, and there was a manpower, and there was two girls in there. And one day they were one name, and the next day they were another name, and then the next day they were another name. Because they were collecting 3 times, but it was only one woman. And she changed herself every time. It just happened that I got in there when this happened. You know, I was going there too much.
Okay.
In other words, I shouldn't have been going every day like I was. I would have never known this was happening because it would always been a stranger.
Sure.
See, but what I was doing, I was going every day because I wanted a job. And that's how I figured it out. It was the same woman, but she changed herself 3 times. See, so when you say I could have picked up her, she might have looked different than what she looks like in the picture.
That's why I was asking if you had ever picked up a girl. Mm-hmm. That's why I asked it.
Because you take her now and you shave all the hair off her head, she look altogether different, period.
Yeah.
And a lot of them do that now, too. The blacks do that. They'll have that big curly hair, and then all of a sudden you see them again in the same spot, and they're both.
So a white girl on 43, how many times would you have done something like that? Given a girl?
0.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for the accident. You've been truthful with us, and we really appreciate that because we are trying to follow up on the murder investigation, and we really appreciate your honesty, okay, on everything that you've given us.
Mm-hmm.
We just
I've got a question for you. When they said that they raped her and cut her throat in that bedroom in that house trailer, why didn't they find no traces of blood? Because I know from being in the service, when you get an artery cut, that blood squirts. I mean, it squirts all over the place.
we can't.
So if he said the kid said he cut her throat. Well, if he cut her throat, that shit would have been spraying all over. They didn't find no blood in there. So, I mean, that don't make sense to me. I mean, I'm just thinking about.
Well, what you got to understand is just for your sake, so that you're clear, because people have said stuff about you, and we want to put that to rest. That you
Were you here once before and knocked on my door?
A couple days ago, yeah.
Yeah, by the time I get there, you're gone.
Oh, really? Well, we will stay this a trip today then.
Well, no, I mean, I heard somebody knock, and by the time I got there, I opened the door, there's nobody there.
Oh.
Well, you gotta give us some time to get up and go. I mean, we can sleep, we're retired. We don't have to be up at 7 or 6 in the morning.
One more thing I want you to be truthful with, okay? We gotta ask you this stuff because we wanna get to the bottom of it. So you've been truthful with us, we want you to continue to be truthful with us, okay? Did you ever kill Teresa Hallbach? Did you kill Teresa Hallbach at all?
It's a blunt question, but we need an
Just,
answer.
No.
yes, no.
Why?
Would there be any reason?
Why would there be any reason for me to kill Teresa Hobach if I never knew
That was
her?
my next question.
I didn't even know her. Why would I have a reason to kill her? I don't make any sense. I don't even hang around with that group of people. You would look more where she hung out.
One or two more questions. You ever take Teresa Hallbach, her body, and put it over by Steve to frame Steve Avery? And then sprinkle,
No, but her
and then sprinkle
brother
his
probably
blood,
did.
and then sprinkle his blood
Her
around.
brother could have probably done it.
All right, but did you do that?
No. I would take the guy that used to be on the police force, Manawha County Sheriff Avery, and hold him as a suspect.
Are we, Don Wendy? I have to tell any police officer who's gonna be doing that in his behalf, but you got anything else?
Well, no, he's retired now. He's retired for quite a few years.
Okay.
But he would have more motive than I would. I ain't even in the
I
family.
see what you're saying.
Somebody with motive, because Stephen probably would have got the business. It would be somebody with a motive inside the business that would, I would say, would have it, because they looking at $1 million business. It's probably not run that way right now, but it could be.
Right. All right, well, Roger, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I'd like to leave you with a card, but do you have a card outside? You don't need no card? Okay.
Well, I'm the only.
If I wanted to get a hold of you, all I have to do is call you on my cell phone.
I'm the
How are
only.
you gonna know my number if you don't have my
411.
411?
Information. Give your name, they give me the number, and they dial it for
Do
me.
you remember my name?
No, but you're from the Manawha County, Calumet.
Calumet County.
Kelly.
There we go. Calumet County
Both
Sheriff's
the
Department.
same, both the same.
Yeah.
You would find us that way if you needed to get back.
But they're both the same, they've used them for years, because I was a teenager at one time, and I run away, and instead of holding me in Manawha, they put me in Calumet.
Okay.
And them two been working together, it's just like it's one.
Here's the one last thing I would request from you, and that is, if you get any information, you pass that to us, and you try to get a hold of us again.
But I hang around with nobody that I would have information
If
from.
something comes by your way, that's all I'm asking. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Tom up there in Green Bay, I wouldn't even get next to him again,
Okay.
for just what you told me and for what I know about him. I tried helping him, tried getting him back on his feet, but he don't wanna do it, you can lead him to the water, but you can't make him drink.
Absolutely. I appreciate you talking to us.
Cause I could've got him a job at the ABC up there, even if it's just on the dock, it pays $16 an hour. But if you don't wanna quit drinking, you don't wanna quit, you know,
Yeah.
they ain't gonna hold him for a job.
Does he have some drug use in his background there?
Well, that part I don't know, I know drinking, but I don't know anything about the drug part.
Good question.
No,
All right.
I never hung around with him.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Well, there we go. That's the end of it. Interesting that he said there, investigator Steer, he says, well, we just want to get to the bottom of it. Well, you're fixing to go to trial and you're not at the bottom of it yet? Really?
I mean, it's not
Yeah.
even that, Jack. It's the fact that he turns around and he says to them, look, listen, I was in the military and I've seen what artery cuts look like. And that young lad said that they cut his throat, but yet there's no blood in the bedroom.
That's
Did
right.
you see how quickly they changed the fucking subject?
Oh,
And
last,
one
They're
of
like,
the-
did you kill Teresa? And he's like, no, why would I?
No wonder they didn't want this in the public, because even he's asking the questions that we're all asking.
yeah,
And
where's
if
the
this
blood?
is the day before trial, or a week or so before trial, or coming up to the trial, this is fucking ridiculous that they're still fishing for shit to try and pin on Stephen days or a week before the fucking trial. It goes
Yep.
to show you that they had nothing, absolutely nothing.
See, I don't think this was them trying to pin it on Stephen. This is them trying to come up with a backup plan in case Stephen gets found not guilty.
That's
Because
possible.
of the blood vial that they found that they weren't supposed to find, like Silkman said, Remaker went through all of the evidence and made a list, and there was no blood vial in there in May of 2006 because the blood vial was in an open box inside the office with all the paperwork. It wasn't actually in the evidence locker. It was just in a box in the office. So now you have this blood that people could say it was planted. He's been saying it was planted since he got arrested. They must have put it there. And now you actually have a blood vial that was in an accessible area of the courthouse where anybody could have looked for it, found it. And then they find out it was only scotch taped. And this is only in late November, early December that they actually examined it. This is a month and a half later. They're trying to find an out. Did you murder Teresa Halbach? Did you pick her up on the road? Did you have a blood of his, so that if it did turn out Stephen Avery's blood was planted, they have somebody to blame it on, and it would have been that guy.
This was really full of nuggets, wasn't it? And I think that it was really embarrassing what Azali pointed out, when he said, wait a second, if they slit her throat, there would have been blood everywhere and didn't find anything.
That's right.
Yes, exactly. And then
also a problem with that, Neverly, is that he knows that there was a story of him slitting the throat. This is all out in the public before trial. All these details that shouldn't have been out there with Ken Kratz's press conference.
Right. But to me, almost sounds like pure desperation if they're wasting resources a week before the trial, that they have no clue what the fuck happened. Because they know that it didn't happen the way the state is going to run with. Because they have nothing. Why? I mean, they're asking pretty particular questions. Did you pick her up on the road, like a white female, whatnot? Did you know her? And then he said, why would I kill her? I didn't even know her.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, pure logic. No more convoluted bullshit. He's not putting up with that. He's just saying as it is.
Yeah,
and their biggest problem is they don't have a crime scene.
That's right.
And he was quick to point that out. Where's the blood?
Yeah, it's so obvious.
Yeah, and they still don't know what happened.
Oh, there's no blood in his bedroom before the trial. That's something interesting. Like, he's saying there's no blood, but how does he know that there's no blood? It hasn't been presented in court yet that there is no blood. So how did he know?
Yeah. And why would they asking him, did you do it, if they are so sure that Stephen did it and Brandon?
That's right.
They wouldn't be wasting resources on this a week before.
Yeah, just quickly before Doc comes on, sorry Doc, Behind the Magic says, but, if they were convinced Stephen Avery did it and no blood planting, why? Just why?
That's right. Doc?
I was going to say, it goes to show the importance of playing recordings rather than just relying on CASO reports. Because what Raduenz said about how he was completely befuddled why there wasn't the presence of any blood in the bedroom is not in the report. It's not in the report.
Not surprised.
And the other thing that they put in the report was that as they left the Raduenz, they actually checked his van. And you know what they checked in his van for? The presence of blood. Can you believe this shit? Right? So it goes to show that, yeah, they are clueless. And it goes to show that what Brendan Dassey said is complete garbage. And this all emphasizes the fact that Mr. Kratz had no idea what happened to Teresa Halbach and where it happened. But as Neverly and everyone else has said, these guys have got other alternative plans and scenarios in the back of their mind. And it's very frightening that just before trial, they're asking Raduenz all these leading type questions when they should be focusing on the trial and obviously on Stephen and Brendan, but they're not. They're looking elsewhere. That to me is very revealing, guys.
Very.
Was
I
the
have to-
part
Did they
was-
put in the report that they asked him about if he killed Teresa? Was that in the report? I didn't actually read it just now.
Yes.
So they do put that in there. Okay.
Did they
Yeah,
put the
that-
part about Arland Avery in there?
No, they didn't mention the word Arland. They just said someone else. And you know when
Well, he
Raduenz
said
was
his
talking
brother,
about, yeah, you know when Raduenz was talking about females cutting off their hair, he was talking about Baldwin, right? He actually mentioned Baldwin. If she had cut her hair, he wouldn't recognize her. That's in the report.
Wow.
That's in the report. Correct.
He didn't
And of
say
course,
it.
The whole part about the one woman who's changed her name 3 times in 3 days and her makeup, and he completely thought it was 3 different women. 3 different.
Yeah.
When it
But he
probably
knew it
was.
wasn't.
It was probably 3 different women.
Yeah, right.
Possibly.
Bethany,
Yeah.
Bethany's asking, who was he talking about? Who he was helping? They asked him, like, you helped him, and would you help him again? Who was that they were talking about? Was that he was helping Steve?
No, some guy on the side of the road that he pulled over.
Oh
and helped.
no, she's talking about later on. Well, it does allude to the fact that he's like trying to say he was talking about helping Steve out, get him a job, but
No. He was talking about Tom. I think Tom, the guy that reported this.
Oh,
He
could have
said he
been.
won't quit drinking. I tried to help him get a job and this and that.
It could have been Tom because it
Yeah.
wasn't specific. It could have been. You're right.
Yeah, I think that's who he was talking about.
Okay.
Because Steven's not a drinker like that.
Well, especially not later on. I think when he was younger, I think he may have had a few beers here and there, but I don't.
Yeah.
From what I gathered, he was never really a drinker. Not really.
Mm-mm.
Clive's question. He says, so the cops asked Roger, did you murder Teresa Hallback? He replied, no. But if he had said yes, would they then let Stephen go before trial? No chance. No fucking chance. They would have just swept it under the rug like they did and continued on to get fucking Stephen, because they were after, in my opinion, they were after Stephen no matter what. If it
That's
was the poor Teresa and what happened to poor Teresa, which is fucking really, really bad, if it hadn't been what happened to Teresa that Stephen was getting the blame for, they were going to pin him for something else because they needed to get rid of him because of this loss.
They were going to make it work no matter what. I'm convinced of that. They're going to make it work.
I thought it was kind of interesting how he kind of skirted that question about, have you ever stopped and picked up a woman in need? And he's like kind of hesitated, and in my truck or my van? And then, I thought he sounded a little suspicious there. And then they asked him, have you ever done that on 43? Well, what about 147? Anyway.
Well, but anyway, stopping and they're trying to allude to the fact that, did you ever stop and pick up a woman? Got a blown out tire, or run out of gas, or whatever. That's what the fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
Absolutely. Well,
So it
I
makes
think
me think, is that exactly what happened?
Yeah, good question.
well, it can't be discounted.
Yeah, but the scary thing for me, guys, is that what other tips have come in and reports that have never been written are out there, right? So why are they asking these specific questions? That's the big question for me. These are very direct, specific questions, right? So why? I mean, think about it. He's a trucker, right? He would see people on the side of the road, stranded motorists. That's part of the normal routine, right? If you drive along highways in America, and elsewhere, you're going to see motorists that are stranded, but why specifically picking up or helping a woman, right? That's the big question for me.
Well, as a trucker,
Yes.
as you said, Doc, he's probably helped dozens of men and women over the years.
But
Correct.
guys, remember the reportings of citizens who said that they saw a woman, I don't know if they said the description of that matched Teresa's, that was picked up in a van.
Yes,
Remember that?
I do.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
was in Sheboygan, wasn't it?
I think-
Something that happened in Sheboygan.
I think so. Yep. It was yep. I do remember that. I don't remember all the specifics, but I remember that report.
Was there
Mhm.
anything in Tom's report about, picking her up on the side of the road?
Been too long since I've read it. I don't know.
I mean, if that's what Tom reported, then you can understand why they would ask him those questions.
Well, yeah, potentially, but looking beyond this Tom guy's report to them, if it had been a year earlier, maybe a year and a half earlier, then okay, maybe the conversation, or well, let's just say a year earlier, that'd have been January of 2006.
Yeah.
May have been some relevance, but that late in the game, I don't know.
I agree. It's really weird.
Yeah, it points to something else entirely. Okay, well, yeah, as Doc said, I think we just proved once again, it's always better to have the spoken word of these people that are interacting. It always changes the nature. We found that out really well in the Jody interviews. Oh my God, it opened my eyes completely to a different way of thinking about the case in some fashion, and the depths of how hard they went after her. Well over a dozen interactions between her and people that she knew, her family, old cellmates. It's I don't know. It points to a completely different direction to me. The undercurrent, no matter what you see publicly, as Doc just was following along this report that's written, it's not what everything that happened in the interview. There's some changes, and that's why these audio recordings are so important. They should match up. So
It creeps me out how much Steyer sounds like Fassbender.
I know
his cadence, everything. I mean,
everything.
He's so similar.
He
I
is.
was like, was he trained by Fassbender? It sure sounds like it.
He did sound like him. I noticed that right off. Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, there will be, again, this will be added to the playlist and to the interviews. I'll try to do it tonight. It shouldn't take long. Jinx has found me a photo of the guy. So we've got that, and I'll get a photo of Baldwin. I don't know if we have one of Steer, but it doesn't matter. At least we have a photo of this guy, and so I can create us a little video and get it in the interview playlist. And that way, Sherry Lynn Pantello, you can re-listen to it again. It's an interesting interview. I'm glad we finally got it. It only took, I don't know. Well, we've been chasing, like I said, we've been chasing this one for a long time. And we finally got it. So August, September, almost all of October. So, 7, let's just say 8 weeks, 9 weeks, and 3 DVDs. Finally got it.
I can understand why they didn't want this out.
Yeah, so can I. So can I. I agree. So now we're going to move into, just briefly before we get into the Colborn stuff, Sherilyn Pontillo had, hey, that's Carol. Hey, Carol. Hey, thanks for dropping by. Sherilyn Pontillo had asked me to play a clip of a call. This is part of the same bunch of pack of call or stuff that I got from my August open records request. This is supposed to be a Jody call, but it's all Stephen and other people. But regardless of the fact, this one is of Debbie. I think it's Debbie. Well, regardless, we're going to play it. We're going to play a little clip of it. And what they're talking about, there's a phone that they're talking about that's downstairs that is potentially not recorded. There wouldn't be a recording like we normally hear in a normal jail call. If that's true, I don't know. There's just all kinds of weirdness around that. So give me just 1 second to pull this up here, and we'll listen to a little bit of this call. We're not going to listen to all of it. It's like a 30-minute call. So give me just a second here. Okay. Okay, yeah, that should pop in there. Okay, we're going to play a little bit of this. If you're here in Discord, you'll have to unmute. And Sherry Lynn had, I will also add this. Sherry Lynn Pontella had also added in if Barb was here, if she knows anything about this, the way this is set up at the Calumet County Jail or Manitowoc County Jail. Somebody is echoing. Somebody is echoing. Well, I think that's you, Neverland. Thank you. You're so nice. If Barb is here, or anyone that's familiar with the Manitowoc County Jail, if they know how the setup was it back then, if there was a separate phone that someone could go to, we would certainly appreciate any information about that. All right. I'm going to pull this up here. Again, if you're in Discord, you'll have to unmute YouTube. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay, so it's getting more and more where people are knowing that something's up. The more and more people are talking about it.
Yeah.
So everyone.
From the Calumet County Jail, this call may be monitored or recorded.
They have to know something's up.
Huh?
They have to know something is up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. More and more people, even people that at first didn't think you were innocent, now they're starting to believe it. When the way they're hearing the way everyone's telling their stories is all mixed up.
Oh yeah.
You know? But I knew you were innocent right from the start. I believed you.
Mm-hmm.
Other people you had to convince, but I believed it right from the start.
Yeah. Well, so did I.
Because it just didn't make sense.
No.
So,
Well, you figure to burn a body, that thing is going to be nice and hot.
yeah. And not only that, it would take a person who's crazy to do something like that.
Yeah.
So,
And I only burnt that little brush, and I think it was 4 tires.
Yeah.
But that don't get hot enough for a body.
I know, because when people die, when they get what do they call it? When you
Cremated.
Yeah, cremated.
Yeah.
They probably they got to have it really, really, really hot.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how hot, but I'm sure it's hotter than a bonfire.
Oh yeah.
So.
I only had a bonfire about 3 hours.
Yeah, and they don't get near as hot.
No.
Like when you get cremated.
No.
So.
And that fire's right on them.
Yep. That's right, and it's enclosed.
Yeah.
Oh. Yep. Yeah, they're just out to get you because of that lawsuit.
Yeah. Well, that was all supposed to be done, last month.
Yeah.
I was supposed to get that 425 from the state. And then with the lawsuit, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope you get out pretty soon. Like you said, maybe in February.
Yeah.
I hope before that.
Yeah, me too. Well, if we get everybody together, bring that money in. That should take long then.
Yes, that's true. And I'll remember to put an ad in the Madison paper Monday.
Yeah.
And I'll run it for a month.
Yeah.
Or do you want me to run it longer than a month?
No, I think that would be good.
Okay, I'll run it for a month. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling them to, for a month.
Yeah. Because I figure a month everyone should be able to see it by then.
Oh, yeah.
So I was going to run it 2 weeks, and I thought, well, no, I'll do it a month just to make sure.
Yeah.
So I went for 1 month. So, yeah. Yeah, man, if you got out, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
I'd give you a great big kiss and hug and anything else.
Yeah, then I'll take you a ride in my truck.
Okay, you can take me a ride in your truck. You can take me wherever you want.
Okay, we'll go north to the cabin.
You go to your cabin?
Yeah, we'll go to our cabin.
Okay. What's that like? Is it like, how many rooms are in it? Or is it just one big thing, or has it got rooms, or how is it?
It's got upstairs, downstairs.
It's kind of upstairs?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, well, it's only a cabin,
Huh?
It's only a cabin.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, you can take me to your cabin. And then we'll be away from a lot of the people around here.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, how long will we stay up there?
I don't know.
As long as you want.
Yeah.
If you want, we can stay up there always.
Yeah.
That's up to you. Wherever you go, I'll go.
Yeah.
You won't have to hog tie me and drag me. I would willingly go wherever you go. So, man, get me excited thinking about it.
Mm.
Man, this is torture.
Mm.
It's probably worse for you because you're in jail.
Yeah.
Stupid mental bars.
Yeah.
Torture. So, oh man. I hope you do get a money raised so you can get out.
Yeah. You know, once it all comes in, they start to send it in.
Yeah.
But then it don't take that long if they send enough, you know, all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, your mom said that she's going to start praying for you to get out.
Yeah.
She said when you guys were little, you went to Sunday school and parochial school and stuff.
Yeah.
Not parochial school, but
Yeah.
catechism.
Yeah.
She said you're Lutheran.
Yeah.
That's what I am too. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, tomorrow ain't Sunday. I think tomorrow is Sunday. Sunday when we go to church, I'll have them pray that you can be able to get out.
Yeah.
I'll tell it because they have prayers in the service.
Yeah.
I'll do that. Your mom goes, well, it won't hurt. Maybe I should try to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I wonder if they could raise money too, couldn't they?
Who?
The church.
Maybe they could. I don't know. I never asked them.
I don't know.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt to ask, would it?
Yeah, that would.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, I could ask them and see what they say. I'll ask the pastor.
Yeah, I never thought that either.
Yeah. No. So I'll ask you Sunday
Yeah.
when I go.
Yeah.
So,
I want to pause this right here. I'm beginning to think this is the wrong. I've chosen the wrong call. It is interesting, though. Keep in mind, even though I've probably played the wrong call, Stephen's been locked up for a month, and to my knowledge, I don't know when she met him, but this is December 9th. This is 1 month after he got arrested, and she's talking the way she is to him. I got a real problem here. I think she's.
So what's this ad? What's this
my
ad?
opinion-
Because I don't recall any ads for him for something for a month in any paper I've ever seen. Like, what is this ad she's running for him?
I don't know.
It's like she's promising him stuff that she's not doing, kind of like the investigator they hired. It seems like a plant to me.
Alice?
I was just going to say that as far as I'm concerned, she was a plant. She was put there to try and squeeze stuff out of Stephen if she could get, because they were listening. Because it's just funny how they know fine well that, you know, Jodie was his girlfriend and everything like that, but she's talking to him and she's flirting with him and everything like that, and saying that they're going to go to the cabin, and I mean, a cabin with an upstairs bit in the cabin, where I comfy, that's a bloody house, not a cabin.
Seems like she's fishing for information almost, like.
How many people think that if investigators ask other people, is Jodie a jealous woman? Do you think everyone would have said, oh, she's insanely jealous?
Yes. And hello, Christina. How are you?
Hi,
Christina.
I am good. I'm so glad I made it. I kind of got stuck and was later than I thought. I really think that I have to agree with Jinx. I think Debbie was used to drive a wedge between Jodie and Stephen, so that they could try and get Jodie to flip.
Oh, I know she would. They definitely used her, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But you know, I agree with Susan. Jinx, I think she was a plant. Not only because of what we've heard, but Barb was in chat last couple of weeks. We were talking about Debbie, and I can't remember if I played what I played, but no matter. She said that Debbie basically just faded away, just gone.
Disappeared.
Doc?
Was that actually Debbie talking to Stephen?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, she sounds like a classic honeypot to me.
Yep.
If you know that term. Because you could tell there was lovey-dovey talk and then there was straight questions.
That's right.
Right.
Mhm.
And she talked
How many-
about, I was going to say, sorry, Sunshine Christina, she talked about cremation, right? Now, fancy talking to Stephen about cremation, it obviously wasn't hot enough, the temperature was not right, the heat had to be direct, and then they started talking about, going to their cabin. To me, she sounds exactly like a plant.
Yep. Sunshine.
I was just gonna say, how many stories is the cabin? How big is it? Like, those are not. I don't know. I see why Stephen kept calling her, because he had to be saying, "Why is this chick talking to me?" He wasn't smart enough to think. He was smart enough to think she was a snitch. He wasn't smart enough to play it through to see how they were going to use her. Right? He was just bored, and I don't know.
Oh, I think
But
he was
yeah.
bored and just wanted somebody to talk to, and she was really coming on to him. Again, we're 30 days after he got arrested. Where the hell did she come from? It's like she just fell out of the sky. Come on.
Yeah, exactly, Jack. But not only that, during that time and all, was Jody knowing the jail at that time, so he knew that he wasn't going to be getting visits or anything like that for her. So when this Debbie came on the scene, he saw somebody to talk to, you know what I mean? And then, like the last call that we heard that we played, and it was Deb and Stephen, and she's being all flirty and everything like that, and saying I love you and everything like that, and Stephen's like, yeah, no really wanting to say anything or anything like that. So to me, she's definitely been a plant, because they were fishing, and as we've said and all, the fact that so as that they could use it against Jody to say, oh, well, do you know that he's been flirting with somebody else? And then they play Jody the tapes to get her riled up, to get her pissed off, so that she'll turn around and say, right, that motherfucker, I hear, right, well, he's done this and he's done that and he's done this and he's done that, and that's exactly how they played it out. And then because they've not got anywhere with Stephen slipping up or anything like that, that's why she's just disappeared off the fucking scene.
Yep. Jinxie, you're unmuted.
I have two questions. I have, what's her connection to Madison? Is that where she was from?
Susan may know that answer. I don't know. I thought
No, I don't think it's Madison, but she's from a farm.
Yes.
She talked about putting an ad in the Madison paper, so I'm just curious about.
She may have been near there. I think she was about 45 minutes away.
Now remember, Madison's the capital where Fallon and all of them are based.
Mhm.
So that's
Correct.
why I was curious about that.
What's your other?
Y'all want to hear something funny?
My other question is,
Oh.
she was there, she comes in, and she disappears as quickly as she was there. Was that right around the time Brendan got arrested that she disappeared?
No, it was later. It was
later.
Much later.
Yeah,
How
it
much
was.
later?
She was there during the trial with the family.
Yeah, but the phone calls started changing sometime in 2006. Don't ask me which month, but there was a change in the flavor. And
remember, they kind of stopped going to Jody for a while because they had Brendan, it seemed like. Then when Brendan fired, when Kaczynski actually got fired, they started going back at her again. So I'm just curious if, did she stop talking to him between those months as well, and then came back into the picture when they needed to use Jody again to make these jealous calls, I'm curious about that now.
Cherie just put in
Stephen
chat.
kind of broke up with her, and I think Jody called her and talked to her
Yeah,
at one point,
absolutely.
and
Sh-
kind of drove her away. Yeah,
Cherie just put in our chat here on Discord. Her Facebook page. Her Facebook page says she currently lives in Fremont, Wisconsin. She's from Elkhorn, so I'm not sure
Now,
where that
where's
is.
Fremont? Tell me where Fremont is.
Well, you have to open up Google Maps. I don't know. Sunshine
So-
Christina.
So we know her last name, and I don't know why. I feel like this is a Deb Strauss play, not a Manitowoc play. Just my opinion. I think this was Deb Strauss's idea. She seemed to think that she knew Stephen Avery, right? She had him all figured out. So
Maybe.
if this was a plant, I think this was instituted by Deb Strauss.
Very well could have been. Doc.
could have been a CI.
I was going to say, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's too convenient, too coincidental, and they used the calls between Debbie and Stephen against Jody, right? So they used it for a purpose to get Jody rolled up, to flip Jody. But was Debbie married at the time?
Yes.
She was being all up.
Yes.
Yes,
okay.
and I'm pretty sure she's still married to that same guy, or she was a year or so ago anyway.
Yeah.
Debbie's asking, was the guy a cop? Was she married to a cop?
I thought he was a farmer.
I wonder if one of her kids got in trouble, if she got in trouble, if her husband got in trouble. I would pull and see, and that's probably all buried by now. Interesting.
Yoga. Sorry, Christina. Yoga for the Ageless says Fremont is just outside Appleton. And Appleton is an hour's drive.
That's Deb Strauss's. That's
Green
Deb
Bay.
Strauss's. That's Deb Strauss's
home office.
base.
Yep. It was Fassbender's too.
Mm-hmm. It just feels like DCI to me. I don't know why.
Jinxie, this lookup that you've got up here, is that Elkhorn or Elkmont, whatever the hell?
Fremont. I think that's where she lived in 05 as well, was Fremont. That name just rang a bell when she said it. So Fremont is just it's west of Appleton, so
Yeah.
a little west of Appleton.
Yeah,
like
that's
he
a pretty.
said. And then I don't recall, says it was an hour and 10 minutes away from Avery Road as well. So it's about an hour away from Green Bay if you're going a little north, or if you could go completely east, it's basically completely east, you'll hit Two Rivers. So that's near Avery. So about an hour there too.
I also think she could have just been a groupie, a prison groupie. But they saw the opportunity to use her to piss Jody off.
Yeah, don't forget, guys, February 15th. What did Wiegert and Wendy do? They called her in, played them calls, and we just thought you ought to know what was going on, Jody. You need to listen to this. I don't know. We probably will never know. Doc?
I think the clue.
To me, she's. Oh, I'm so sorry. She seems very, very comfortable. The way she talks to him, very intimate in a short amount of time to a perfect stranger. You know what I mean? It's just a little bit too much.
Absolutely.
Doc? Yeah, I agree. I think, if we really want to know more about Debbie, I think we're going to listen to her phone calls and determine the type of questions that she asks Stephen. Would it be the type of questions that an investigator would ask, right? Basically to probe, to find out what Stephen really knows about what took place, right? Because yes, what Neville said is correct. There's a lot of lovey-dovey stuff going on, but are there strategic questions where someone probing to find out really how much Stephen actually knows? Did she ask those types of questions? And it pricked my ears when she talked about cremation. how crazy the cremation is. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, if she believes that Stephen is innocent, hasn't done any of this, what the hell is she talking about cremation and fires not being hot enough? It's sort of like, fishing, probing. Maybe I'm stretching it a bit, but it'll be interesting to see what other type of questions Debbie asked Stephen.
Oh, it definitely felt like fishing to me, Doc.
This isn't the only one I think is a plant. There was also an investigator that was hired, a private eye basically, by the family where they paid him $3,000 or whatever. And that guy's like supposedly got all these tips and everything that he's supposed to be picking up for Stephen for this money, and then just it never happens. It's like the guy took the
He
money,
did nothing.
ran,
Yeah.
then he actually came back and asked for more money. And they're like, well, you haven't done anything for us. You were supposed to pick up this recording or video or something that they were talking about. Like, so to me, I feel like that guy was either a user, like he saw this as an opportunity to use this family for money, or he was working for the police as well. Of course, money, he'd have to be hired, right? Because he doesn't want you to know that he's working for the state. And he's relaying information to the officers about what Stephen has already.
Possibly.
Stephen at that
Is this
time
the
only
guy?
had a public defender. His name is James Thurl, and
Jim Thyrell.
he got himself involved in the Ricky Hawks.
So what's interesting about Jim Tyrell, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing, but the day that Teresa disappeared, he got found guilty and received a massive fine in a court sentence or a jail sentence,
if I remember.
and a jail sentence for like tax evasion or something. It would be interesting to see, if he made a payment on that right after receiving the money from Stephen's family. Yeah, well, someone using his ad, or no, he had one the month before or something,
in August or whatever.
Yeah,
a couple, like 2 months before she goes missing.
His address or something.
Address and name is on one of the lead forms for Auto Trader for Teresa.
Did we ever find the ad for that to confirm that she sold that ad?
I have no idea what, like, I would have to look and see what car that they put in the paper, what month, if there's even an Auto Trader still around from that month to see if it's in there.
Well, no, what I mean is, did we ever, I see, what I was trying to say is, did we confirm that because we know that they did the cold leads, right? They would look through the newspapers.
Lead or if he was just an appointment that they already had him on file. I don't know.
Yeah.
Does he have any kind of a criminal record?
Just that tax stuff,
evasion, basically, where he owed $70,000 to the taxes or something like that. And he also lived like 4 houses down the street from the house that they're filing tax is on, right down the street from George Zipper.
Yeah. And he ran for sheriff once.
Yes.
And he took Kathleen Zellner around once, claimed to. And he has a couple of YouTube videos where he speaks about a lot of the corruption. Now,
I think he's the one that claimed Deb Hochstetler had some envelope that proved who killed Ricky or something. I think came from him.
Well, yeah,
he inserted himself in that case too, it seems. It's like all of a sudden after Ma'am came out, people were talking about the Ricky Hochstetler case, and then all of a sudden he's dating this woman and then kind of ghosted her at some point, just stopped talking to her.
Yeah. I think the what it was is they had a letter from the coroner about Ricky's case that Deb was told not to open or something.
Yeah, because it was his because it's the DNA, and if you open it, the chain of custody is broken. That's what all that was about. But anyway, yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I don't know. I just have a really, really strange feeling about Deb because of her quick interaction. She could have been a groupie, Susan. You may be right, but it just feels like there's more to it. But we'll probably never know. On that end, but it certainly puts an interesting twist on all the stuff that happened with her and Stephen, and then they turned around and used that shit against Jody to piss her off and to create more division. So that's the part that leads me to think that she was a plant. But
Divide
anyway.
and conquer.
Yeah. But, back to this other for Sherilyn Pontillo, I apologize. I guess that was the wrong call. I thought it was the one that was in the chat. But regardless of the fact, there's conversation again about a separate phone being down in the booking area that somebody could come down and use. But I think that they would have to be escorted by an officer. And I don't know.
So let me just share this little tidbit. Back in the early 2000s, it would not be uncommon for trustees or people that jailers were comfortable with to go and use an office phone. That is something that would happen in my county a lot. Like if you didn't have any money and you're in good with a CO, and their sergeant wasn't around, they would let you use their phone. Now, I'm sure it's gotten a lot stricter, but that may be what they're referring to.
Maybe. I don't know. It's not really clear about what they're talking about, what type of phone it is. It's just said the downstairs phone. So I don't know, maybe a little bit more.
Like an unrecorded phone that they let them use for their lawyers. Was she calling a lawyer? Maybe,
see, there's a process for, if you're talking to your lawyer, there's a code. There's code that you put in, and those are unrecorded. So, yeah. So this is going to take a little bit more investigation.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Let's move on and go to the next part of our topic tonight, and that's Colborn v. Netflix. And again, thanks to Cherie, we have several new documents. Most of them are relatively short. Let me get this first one pulled up here.
Let me start out with saying, you're gonna lose.
No doubt about it. This first one is a 4-pager. And like I said, most of these are short, and there's only really basically one. It's a document. I think it's document 300. It's right after this one. Document 300, and there's one attachment to that 300-1. I'll get all these linked in the video description after we get finished. That way, anyone wants to go see them is free to do so. This first one is defendants Laura Riccardi, Moradimos, and Chrome Media LLC's reply in support of their motion to restrict. Now, I know Susan's a little bit under the weather, so I'm going to ask Alice if she's able and willing to read a bit. You don't have to read everything tonight, but this is like I said, this is about 3 or 4 pages. Feel like reading?
Yep, sure.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. The producer defendants, Laura Riccardi, Moira Demos, and Chrome Media LLC, respectfully submit this reply pursuant to Civil Local Rule 7C in support of their motion to restrict, docket 281, filed in conjunction with their motion for summary judgment. Specifically, the producer defendants have good cause to maintain the confidentiality of their footage at exhibits 1 through 32 of docket 283 because 1. It is proprietary work product complied as a result of considerable time, effort and expense. 2. The ongoing nature of the Avery and Dassey appeals reflect the possibility that the footage may become valuable and relevant for the producer defendants to use in the future. And 3. There is a legitimate basis for concern that non-parties have interest in using materials from this lawsuit in their projects, circumventing the licensing and accessing requirements they would otherwise face.
Let's pause right there just for 1 second.
Yeah.
And that says it all right there. So basically, for those that don't know, this being a civil trial, a federal civil trial, Judge Ludwig has made it very clear he does not like to seal anything. It's just the way it is in a federal trial, a civil trial. It's supposed to be open. However, in this scenario here, as anyone that's was listened to our prior readings of these other documents or have read them themselves, they submitted camera A footage, which was basically after day 2 was fucked up. It was not broadcast worthy up to broadcast standards, so they didn't use it, and they sought other media to use in making a murder. They went to considerable effort, actually, because this other footage was really terrible because something got unplugged on their whatever, the multi-box, whatever the hell you call it. So they couldn't really use it. So if this becomes, if the Judge Ludwig unseals it, any Tom, Dick, and Harry out there can use that footage because it's public record now. They can use it for their own. They can use it for their own benefit, and this is their footage. So I don't blame them. Go ahead, Al.
No, but what they're basically saying there is, Jack, is the fact is, we want this shit sealed because there's people out there that wants their grubby fucking mitts on our hard work so that they can use it in their shit production that's going to be coming, which is called convicting.
Oh, they would never do that.
Remember, it's called convicting a murderer.
Yep.
Doc? Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, Doc, don't break any iPads or computers now. Easy.
It's too late for that. They should have called it convicting of footage.
Susan? Christina?
I find one of those sentences very interesting. Now, it says the ongoing legal of Stephen and Brendan.
Appeals.
Yeah. So, as a always looking on the bright side person, I think the ongoing nature of the Avery and the footage may become valuable. I think there is footage, not only that we haven't seen, we know that, but I think there's footage that may help to substantiate a lot of our allegations that Riccardi and Demos just can't reveal yet, right? Does that make sense?
Maybe. There may be some potential there.
No, it doesn't make sense to me, Christine.
Okay, let me try it again.
That footage has that footage has been shot that could be revealing, that could help Stephen and Brendan.
Substantiate all the allegations of malfeasance on officers, right? But without until these verdicts are overturned and this case is open again, it's not worth. They got sued and they did nothing wrong. They could have made Manitowoc and Wisconsin look a whole lot worse. We know this, right? We know this. But they couldn't do that yet because the guys were found guilty. If these cases are over, let me change that because I'm going to be positive. When these cases are overturned, I would suspect these ladies have captured some very interesting footage that may be helpful to Stephen and Brendan. I'm not saying they got the real killer on film.
Right. No.
They have footage that clearly contradicts what investigators claim they were up to.
I think there's a potential for that. I mean, I guess we're speculating, but I think there's definite potential because we haven't seen the footage, right? So, yeah, that's an interesting thought, Christina. All right, Alice, continue, please.
Okay. First, the producer defendants personally attended and filmed the trial of Stephen Avery 15 years ago, contributed to the shared media pool, paid thousands of dollars to media pool colleagues to license footage they did not independently possess, and then for this litigation spent dozens of hours locating, copying, and excerpting archive footage. Declaration of Moira Demos filed in support of motion to restrict. All of this imposed considerable time, effort, and monetary costs. The producer defendants openly support the public and press's right of access to official proceedings. They do not support the plaintiff's apparent assertion that the media's coverage of public proceedings eviscerates their propriety rights and interests in their work product. Second, the ongoing nature of the Avery and Dassey appeals reflect both the legitimate possibility and the intermediate timing for the future use of this footage. The potential future value of this footage is not, as plaintiff claims, speculative at best, quote unquote. Stephen Avery's post-conviction attorney filed a third motion for post-conviction relief on the 16th of August 2022. Any developments in that appeal or Dassey's case could revive this story and relatedly make this footage uniquely relevant and valuable again. Third, the producer defendants have good cause to be concerned that non-parties are using this lawsuit for quote-unquote unearned competitive advantage, and the footage in question should therefore remain confidential. On multiple occasions, a non-party producer of the quote-unquote counter-documentary convicting a murderer, Brenda Schuler, has expressed interest in using material from this lawsuit in her team's project. Convicting remains a work in progress and has not yet found a distributor. Declaration of Kevin Vick in support of expedited motion to depose plaintiff. Schuler testified that she encouraged plaintiff to file this lawsuit, provided him with information to, quote, help his case, unquote, and would have, quote, loved to follow through this whole process and filmed it, unquote. Vick deposition. Plaintiff and Schuler exchanged over 4,000 text messages, and plaintiff provided 2 exclusive interviews to Schuler for convicting. Declaration of Kevin Vick in support of motion of summary judgment. Schuler helped draft and fact-check the original complaint for this lawsuit. 1. Plaintiff violated both the governing protective order and his own attorney-client privilege to exchange information with Schuler. Receiving plaintiff's debrief of the confidential mediation, Schuler expressed disappointment that, quote, we should have been filming that, unquote. Fuck's sake. 1 at 341 to 44, with a non-party seeking unearned competitive advantages for their film project through this litigation, the producer defendants have good cause to protect their proprietary work product.
There you go. Submitted by.
I completely agree with him, Jack. I really do.
Well, sure.
Why should they have put in all the work, have all that film footage, paid £10,000 to other people for footage and everything like that, put all the work into making a murderer, for somebody, shells like convicting, to come along
and get it for free?
Exactly, yeah, and get all this information for free that they had to work hard for. You know, so I can totally understand how they're pissed off, and that they know that, as you say, the judge doesn't want to seal anything. So I hope to God that he grants this motion, because to me it would be really, really, really unfair to Moira and Laura if he doesn't. Because they've put all the work in, they've spent all that money on getting the stuff that they needed to get theirs, you know what I mean? And for somebody like Brenda Schuler and convicting to come along and just swoop in and take their hard-earned work to put in as a counter to their hard work that they did for making a murderer, you know what I mean? I can completely see how they're pissed off.
Yep, I agree.
How they will be pissed off if this doesn't get granted, you know?
Doc?
I was going to say, I agree with Alice, but it's actually more pathetic than that, right? It's actually, and it's very insidious. So what Brenda Schuler and others want to do is use their own footage that they paid for and did all the hard work against them. They want to use it for profit, for convicting a murderer, right? And potentially earn money, and then to use the director's footage to make a point against the directors, right? That's essentially what Brenda Schuler is trying to get at.
That's right.
Give me the rope and I'll hang you with it. That's basically what she's trying to do. And the directors have got incredible justification to say, bugger off.
Completely 100% agree with all of it. Absolutely. Christina?
I'm gonna speculate and say it's even more insidious. I'm gonna speculate and say that a few lawyers got together and said, let's hire a documentarian, let's sue Making a Murderer, make a counter documentary, make some money, and make them all learn their lesson. Because I think this entire suit, the goal was to get the footage. They are afraid. They are deathly afraid there's something on there that's going to hurt them. And they are thinking that they could use this lawsuit to get footage and to get a check. I really believe that. Remember what Meyer said? Meyer said, I'm in it. I'm just not putting in my own money. Right? So what's he in it for?
Well, in my opinion, Christina, they've seen the accolades that Laura and Moira got because they won awards at some TV ceremony show thing.
The Cannes Film Festival, I think they won something, and then they won multiple awards afterwards. Absolutely.
Yeah, so
they won Emmys, more than one Emmy, I think.
Yeah, that's it, Susan. Yeah, Emmys and that. I mean, they've seen them getting these accolades, so I think that they thought that they could do the same thing with convicting and get these same accolades.
There's no way they believe they can do this.
Well,
they can't be that wrong.
I think they. It's just kind of like what we talked about yesterday about getting the right judge for the right case, right? Because unfortunately, that's just the way the wind blows. I don't agree with it, and I don't think every judge is this way. But if they Judge Ludwig to me seems very fair. He's actually been to me, more than fair to the plaintiff. He's given them a lot of breaks. He got pissed off in June at the shenanigans that Griesbach and Barker pulled, but he's overall extremely fair. But if you say you got a judge like Angie that's leaning way towards the state's case, who the hell knows? I don't know. I can't disagree. This almost feels like, again, another attempt. You remember what Kratzen tried to do? He tried to steal their footage and they had to go to court. They had to hire a lawyer. He tried to take their footage way back. This feels like very similar to that, Doc.
Kratz believed that the movie directors were working for the defense.
Yep.
Right? And that really pissed him off. And hence, you're right. He wanted access to all the footage just in case that Stephen had discussed certain things to them, etc., etc. These are independent filmmakers. They're not working for Stephen. They're there to shoot as it was taking place in situ. Wherever the cards fell, the cards fell.
That's right.
And remember, the directors had no influence on the judge or the jury or the outcome.
That's
to
right.
me, this is massive sour grapes. And if I could just make my final comment, this has the ability to really, really burn up in their face, blow up in their face.
Oh, big time.
And it's going to anger people even more than what it was intended to do.
Yep. I agree with you, Doc.
I agree with you. Definitely on that. And I think as well that they're trying to get this footage for free means that they can put into convicting, look, see, this is what making a murderer actually left out, and play bits that weren't actually, that never make the cut sort of thing. And they can say, well, see, this is what they left out. This is what they left out. They didn't tell you about this. So I can completely understand why they're annoyed.
Absolutely.
Can I make just a quick comment?
Please.
Yeah, Laura and Moira, in the last interview that I watched of them, and it was a long, like over an hour interview, they claim that they still are undecided on Stephen's guilt or innocence.
That's right.
To me, that's a kind of a political move, first of all, lawyerly move, because they don't want to be caught in the middle of all of this. They had a project to do, and that's what they did, and they reserved their opinion to themselves, and I respect that. And another thing is that Kratz, in one of the emails, didn't he say something? If we want to get our book going, or get a deal on the book or in the movie, we should let all of this kind of keep rolling. Didn't he say something like that?
Yes, he did. He wanted Ma'am 2 to keep going because he knew that it was going to be a commercial success for him.
That's
for
right.
himself.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Keep it relevant. Yeah.
That's
Keep
right.
the story
But
relevant.
he got pissed off with Brenda to say, hey, what do you want to stop Ma'am 2 for? I need my second edition.
That's right.
It's completely bizarre. When you think about it, right, this whole thing is a clusterfuck of monumental proportions.
Oh my God.
It's control. It's spearheaded by greed and power, right? Everyone thinks
absolutely.
they deserve millions of dollars, and everyone thinks they're the smartest, most powerful person, and they should get what they want. And I mean, and that's everyone who has been on the convicting Stephen Avery train and profiting from the government convicting Stephen Avery. Griesbach, Pratt,
well, I think
like,
go ahead. I think that, I mean, to add to what you're talking about, it's almost like Kratz has now sat back and thought about it and thought, man, we really should have been a part of this. right? From a greed standpoint.
Well, he said something, or so the other day I saw something, and the person who protests the loudest about something, being wrong is usually it's because one of two things. Either it's because they're doing it and they're trying to draw attention away from them, right? We see that with Kratz, how he tries to paint Stephen as this sex crazed psychopath when he's really the sex crazed psychopath, right? Well, if he thought that, if he made a motion saying that Laura and Maura were working for the defense, did he screw up and say some things to them off the record, thinking that he had them in his pocket, and now he's afraid they're gonna play it when the opportunity comes available? Just a thought.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I don't know. Well, anyway.
Doc? Can I just make one comment, J61?
Please.
Isn't it rather funny now how it's all coming out in the wash that the big criticism of Making a Murderer was, you're profiteering from the murder of Teresa Halbach, this lovely young woman whose anniversary is today, right, in Australia. And yet, look at these fuckers, what they were doing in the background. They were all trying to profit from this, right? They used Andy as your scapegoat, as your entry point. Now, who's suffering now? Andy Colborn is suffering now, even worse than before. And when convicting finally comes out, if it comes out, this is going to blow up.
Oh, I think
this is going to blow up.
I definitely think it's going to come out, and I agree with you, Doc.
It seems to me, guys, that the best approach would have been for Colborn not to do a lawsuit, but to be part of convicting, telling his story, gaining people's sympathy and understanding, and people would have understood that. But by going in this direction, it's done the opposite, in my opinion. It's going to inflame people. And remember, we mustn't forget, Stephen and Brendan are not walking the streets free. They're doing hard time in a fucking prison cell. So right. I don't know what's up these guys' asses that they're complaining about, there was a little bit of editing. Stephen and Brendan are in prison and have been since 2007. What the hell, guys?
Well, this goes back to, Brendan convincing Colborn to sign an exclusivity contract before he was actually even really retired out of the department in March of 2018, right? And Griesbach come along and saying, hey, you don't really need to be talking to any other reporters. Well, that's how can you get his story out there? This guy was used, and that's what I see. He was used.
And also this lawsuit has backfired on Colborn.
Oh my God.
Because I'm sure convicting did not include the fact that, his wife divorced him because he was cheating on her. And, he didn't start taking meds until 2018 or whatever the hell it was.
Until
things like that.
Yeah.
Things like that. It's backfired on Colborn.
Well, and this exchange of all these emails and this backstory back behind it of all this maneuvering going on in the background. Doc said it really well. It's a clusterfuck of monumental proportions until you see it all.
Yep.
This year has really opened my eyes. I could not believe some of the stuff that's come out.
Do you think that Brenda may want to keep her 4,000 text messages private because she also may have indulged stuff to Colborn about convicting that she was legally bound not to say to him by her job with them?
Maybe that.
She says she hasn't. She hasn't done that. Kept him private. We haven't seen him yet, but.
Yeah, but you're going to wait till this next document and we're going to see something completely different.
What was the date?
Christina?
What was the date of the communication between Colborn and Brenda Schuler that was mentioned in that motion we just read? Did it say the date?
I don't think so.
For what?
I can look, but I don't think so.
Colborn was telling her about ongoing court things, court dates during this civil suit. And so the lawyers for Laura and Maura are using that as evidence that this case is being used as an attempt to get footage to help sell their garbage documentary. Where's it? Right there. Bottom of page 2. Brenda Schuler.
Something on August 16th. You went past it.
Yeah, so it says Brenda Schuler has expressed interest in using material from this lawsuit in her team's project. Convicting remains a work in progress and has not yet found a distributor. And then Schuler testified that she encouraged him to file it and would have loved to follow this through. Plaintiff provided 2 exclusive interview. She helped draft. Where's the other one? Plaintiff violated both the governing protective order and his own attorney-client privilege to exchange info with Schuler.
Yeah.
Retrieving his debrief of the mediation, Schuler expressed disappointment that we should have been filming that. Now, see? So that means they're still chatting. He's like not even following the judges. So that makes me, I'm gonna keep that thought to myself till we're not recording. But this
So what is the date on that one?
Well, we know that there was communication prior to the lawsuit being filed, and that was in the fall of 2018. I don't have the date right in front of me, but
Okay.
And we don't have a lot of those. We've got some of the messages, but we don't have them all. But it was definitely in the fall of 2018.
No, it says right here that Schuler and plaintiff are talking about the confidential mediation. That's after 2018. Because,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they're definitely still talking.
Well, guys, Kathleen Zellner said it the best. This is a early Christmas present, a gift that keeps on giving.
No doubt. No doubt.
So we had Couchet back in time, or Kush, whatever you want to pronounce, the pencil boy, who totally showed us who he is and how things work when it comes to DNA sketching and so forth, should I say tracing. And this, Colborn's case, whoever, he doesn't have friends. None of his friends should have told him, hey, yeah, you go for it, buddy. They should have stopped him. But look at all these serpents in the background. What they're doing. They're all rubbing their hands because they have secondary gain from this. So thank you, Andy.
Well, who ramped him up saying, we can't answer the question of who, because he says he's never watched it. Many times he said, I've never watched the entire thing. So who has got him so pissed off that he would go file a federal lawsuit against a conglomerate conglomerate? Go ahead, Doc.
The fact checker.
Well,
Someone is manipulating Colborn, and as I made the comment in chat, he's being used as a pawn for the ulterior motives of others.
That's right. I completely agree.
100%, Dr. Silkman.
And when you think about it, what was the primary complaint? The primary complaint was that Colborn's confidentiality was, torn to shreds. His name was thrust in lights, yada, yada. And guess what this lawsuit has now done all over again?
Defamed him.
In the worst possible light.
Defamed him. He defamed. Yeah. He's defamed, but it's all on them. The filmmakers had nothing to do with what's happened here in the last 12 months, especially in the last 6 or 7 months, actually. it's all come out.
100% correct. That's 100%. And remember, the ultimate, it's going to fall on Colborn. The judge is going to say, you have been non-specific. You cannot pinpoint exactly how the filmmakers have defamed you. You talk about this, you talk about that, but you're not specific. And really, the ultimate question will lie upon Colborn for making the decision to be involved in the investigation in the first place, because he was part of the civil suit, Stephen's civil suit. He was deposed. He never even told Pagel that he was part of the civil suit. He never should have been involved in the first place. So hence, he has put his hand on the hot plate and now is complaining about it. I think the judges are really going to throw the book at him. This is going to end badly, potentially end badly for Colborn.
I don't say I can survive summary judgment. I just don't. And, I'm not a lawyer. Cherie's read through the documents, I'm sure. Cherie, what do you think about? Do you think there's a way he can survive summary judgment here at all? I'm sure he must have stepped away. Oh,
No, I just, not if the judge is honest. I don't see how. No. And it seems like he has been so far, been, fair and honest. So I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, we read through and we took a lot of time and dissected, 30 documents or whatever. It was actually more than that. It was 30 documents and just a whole slew of exhibits that came along with it. We really took it apart. And if I thought, and I'm really speaking truthfully here, if I thought there was a kernel of something that he could hang on to, but so much that it was originally filed, the second amended complaint that they filed, he's had to back off so much of that at this point. There's really nothing left. There's nothing at all.
I remember in the first hearing, December 2019, maybe, I don't know when it was, but the judge at the time, I think it might have been the same judge, Ludwig, said that he was concerned or he had concern about the editing. But then when you hear why they did that, they had to get footage where they could. It totally makes a difference to me anyways.
It does to me too. Doc?
I was going to say, if the judge doesn't put a stop to it now, two things can happen. It's either going to get worse for Colborn, or it will go on ad infinitum and end up costing Colburn's side a fortune. Netflix is fine. They're multi-billionaires, right? But Colburn's legal team is not. They've got unlimited resources. If the judge almost has to call a mercy call and put a stop to it, because potentially it's going to get super nasty.
So who's footing Colburn's bill?
We
or
don't
is this
know.
Contingent?
We don't know. It's not been revealed as far as I know. I mean, we're approaching 4 years, guys. So I don't know how, from a civil lawsuit standpoint, how these civil lawyers, I know that a lot of them do take things on contingency, but now we're going into years now, and that's got to be costly. I don't know, Never. That's a great question.
Also a big company that can take them on for years and years and years because they have money, whereas Colborn doesn't. And I don't think these little law offices, like that one guy said, who's going to front the bill? Like the lawyers don't want to do that when they're going up against a company this big that could cost them millions for nothing.
Yeah. Alice, I know you've been unmuted there for a while. I apologize.
No, that's what I'm just waiting to read if that's what you need.
Yeah, this, we've pretty well got that covered. Yeah, this next document. Now, this is from Brenda. And Yeah, why don't we go ahead and pick this up, because this is a 10-pager, and I'm sure we'll stop a time or two and discuss. But yeah, let's go ahead with this one, Alice, if you feel like reading some more.
Okay. Non-party, Brenda Schuler's response to motion to restrict, filed by defendants in connection with their motion for summary judgment. Non-party Brenda Schuler, by and through counsel, hereby submits the following response to the motions to restrict of defendants Netflix Inc. and Laura Riccardi, Moira Demos, and Chrome Media LLC, the producer defendants. In support of defendants' motion for summary judgment, a declaration of Ms. Schuler is being filed concurrently herewith in support of her position that good cause exists for the following record to remain restricted from public access: the Schuler documents. Exhibit 26, filed as conditionally restricted by the producer defendants, transcripts of interview with plaintiff Andrew Colborn in connection with the yet unreleased film project currently titled Convicting a Murderer. Exhibit 27, filed as conditionally restricted by the producer defendants, transcript of the interview with Andrew Colborn in connection with the yet unreleased project currently titled Convicting a Murderer. Exhibit 41, filed as conditionally restricted by Netflix, excerpts of Ms. Schuler's deposition transcript. Background and summary of argument. Ms. Schuler is not a party to this case, yet she appeared for a full day of the deposition and produced documents. Ms. Schuler has produced over 1,500 pages of documents, pursuant to a subpoena issued by Netflix. Ms. Schuler has already expended significant time and cost in cooperating with her discovery obligations. Now, Ms. Schuler feels compelled to present her position on whether certain documents she produced in discovery and certain excerpts of her deposition testimony should be made public in connection with the defendant's motion of summary judgment, because the parties briefing today do not present the court with the full story. Ms. Schuler is a producer of the unreleased film project currently titled Convicting a Murderer. The Convicting a Murderer project is intended to serve as a follow-up to the Making a Murderer series at issue in this case. Relevant to the instant motions to restrict, Ms. Schuler produced transcripts of 2 interviews with plaintiff Andrew Colborn conducted in connection with Convicting a Murderer, and testified about the project in her deposition, for which defendants are using in support of their motion for summary judgment. While a trailer or teaser for Convicting a Murderer has been publicly released, the project has not been completed and released to the public in its entirety. Further, while a few seconds of an interview with Colborn appears in the trailer teaser, the entirety of the interviews with Colborn were not part of the publicity released trailer teaser and have not otherwise been made public. The production company for Convicting a Murderer, Transition Studios, and there's the plaintiff's response to defendant motion, Netflix, correctly notes that Brenda Schuler's employer, Transition Studios, is represented by counsel and indicates that it's therefore Ms. Schuler's respectful request that the court continue to restrict public access, I suppose. Public access to the Schuler documents and keep them under seal. The Schuler documents qualify for restrictions based on the local rules and protective order. While documents filed with the court are typically considered public documents, documents can be sealed upon a showing of good cause. Any motion to restrict access or seal must be supported by sufficient facts demonstrating good cause for withholding the document or material from the public records. If the documents or materials sought to be restricted or sealed have been designated confidential by someone other than the filing party may explain in the motion that the documents or materials are being filed under seal pursuant to a court-approved protective order or otherwise, and that the filing party supports, objects to, or takes no position on the continued sealing of the documents or materials. In response, the person or party that originally designated the documents or the materials as confidential may, if it chooses, provide sufficient facts demonstrating good cause to continue sealing the documents or materials. Absent a sufficient factual basis demonstrating good cause sufficient to seal the documents or materials, the motion must be denied and the documents or materials publicly filed by the clerk of court unless otherwise ordered by the court. Every court has a supervisory power over its own records and files, and access has been denied where court files might have become a vehicle for improper purpose. To protect the confidentiality of non-public and confidential information exchanged during the discovery, the parties in this case executed a protective order which was entered on August 19th, 2021. Pursuant thereto, one who produces information, documents, or other materials may designate them as confidential when in person, in good faith, believes they contain Counsel may provide information to the court with respect to materials provided in connection with Ms. Schuler's deposition. It should be noted that plaintiff's representation is not accurate, including that Netflix's motion to restrict does not reference Transition Studios. For sake of clarity, undersigned counsel represents Ms. Schuler only, not Transition Studios. Trade secrets and non-public, confidential, technical, commercial, financial, personal, or business information. 2. One who produces information, documents, or other material may designate them as attorney's eyes only when the person in good faith believes that they contain particularly sensitive trade secrets or other non-public, confidential, technical, commercial, financial, personal, or business information that requires protection beyond that afforded by a confidential designation. Part A. Here, Ms. Schuler designated the Schuler documents as confidential pursuant to the protective order because she believes in good faith that they contain non-public, confidential, commercial, and business information. Courts may allow parties to seal or restrict documents containing sensitive business or proprietary information. As noted above, Transition Studios has expended significant resources in producing the Convicting a Murderer project. The 2 interviews with Colborn have not been made public and may or may not be included in the final version of Convicting a Murderer. Additionally, the excerpts of Ms. Schuler's deposition that are part of the Schuler documents include Ms. Schuler's testimony about the Convicting a Murderer project, including certain positions that Ms. Schuler believes the final product will take. Accordingly, the interviews and Ms. Schuler's testimony about the project derive potential economic value in remaining confidential and proprietary. That value will be lost if other parties also interested in preparing potentially competing works relate to the same subject matter are available to obtain them. I've got to laugh at that, sorry. That's like, well, if you're going for that, so am I. Good cause to seal where public disclosure of information would effectively afford others, quote, an unearned competitive advantage, unearned because the issue of public disclosure arises from the advantageous circumstances of the documents having become caught up in litigation and as a result have become filed in court. Lastly, no less restrictive means exist to protect the Schuler documents. Ms. Schuler has already confined the documents she wishes to remain restricted to only a few pages of a deposition transcript and the 2 Colborn interviews for the Convicting a Murderer project. Ms. Schuler believes that the parties may be using other documents produced by Ms. Schuler and or other excerpts of her deposition transcripts for which Ms. Schuler has not requested that those documents remain restricted. Further, redaction of the Schuler documents would be impractical. For example, the entirety of the Colborn interviews for the Convicting a Murderer project are confidential. Therefore, good cause exists to restrict access and seal the Schuler documents pursuant to the local rules, the protective order, and the court's inherent supervisory power. Oh, geez, oh. The Schuler documents qualify for restriction based on constitutional protections and the Wisconsin Shield Law. Good cause also exists to restrict, seal the Schuler documents based on constitutional protections and all applicable Shield laws, including without limitations, and then it gives you the statute 8514. Wisconsin Shield law generally recognises the policy that news persons should not be compelled to disclose certain information, stating, except for a court-issued subpoena, quote, no person having the power to issue a subpoena may issue a subpoena compelling a news person to testify about or produce or disclose any of the following that is obtained or prepared by the news person in the news person's capacity in gathering, receiving, or preparing news or information for potential dissemination to the public. 1. The identity of a confidential source of any news or information. 2. Any information that would tend to identify the confidential source of any news or information. 3. Any news or information obtained or prepared in confidence by the news person. 4. Any news, information, or identity of any source of any news or information that is not described in sub 1, 2, or 3. The news person means any of the following. A. Any business or organisation that by means of print, broadcast, photographic, mechanical, electronic or other medium disseminates on a regular and consistent basis news or information to the public, including a newspaper, magazine or other periodical, book publisher, news agency, wire service, radio or television station, or network, cable or satellite network services, or carrier, or audiovisual production company, and a parent, subsidiary, division, or affiliate of any of these businesses or organisations. By God, that was a bloody mouthful.
Sure
Any
was.
person, yeah, it certainly was, Jack. Any person who is or has been engaged in gathering, receiving, preparing, or disseminating news or information to the public for an entity described in par. A. Including any person supervising or assisting the person in gathering, receiving, preparing, or disseminating such news or information. But in a civil case, state law governs privilege regarding a claim or defence for which state law supplies the rule of decision. Wisconsin's constitutional law also generally recognizes the policy that newspersons should not be compelled to disclose certain information. Every person may freely speak, write, and publish his sentiments on all subjects, being responsible for the abuse of that right, and no laws shall be passed to restrain or abridge the liberty of speech or of the press. Journalists in Wisconsin have a qualified privilege based on Article 1, Section 3 of the Wisconsin Constitution, not to disclose information gathered by them in the course of their journalistic endeavours. No person, however, whether journalist or not, may be forced to respond to a subpoena in Wisconsin unless the party seeking the information encompassed by the subpoena makes a preliminary showing that justifies the intrusion. Application of the qualified journalist privilege in the context of civil litigation requires a balancing between, on the one hand, the need to insulate journalists from undue intrusion into their news gathering activities, and, on the other hand, litigants' need for every person's evidence. This balancing is required by irrespective of whether the journalist's information was obtained in return for a promise of confidentiality.
Go ahead. Internal citation admitted, emphasis in the original. Let's pause here for a second, because now, Doc, I'm sure Doc picked it up and everyone else. Now she's trying to hide behind it and saying she's a journalist, and her text messages and this other information should be shielded. Wait a minute. The text messages.
When did she become a journalist?
Exactly.
But Jack, the only thing she's asking to be shielded is excerpts from the 2 interviews with Colborn and some of her deposition excerpts.
And the text messages.
She mentions nothing. She doesn't mention the text messages.
Yeah, it was up in the.
At all.
It was. Yeah, she did mention them too. It's in there.
No, there's 1, 2, and 3. She spells them out.
Yeah, I didn't see the text messages either, Jack. Can you show me?
Maybe she just mentioned them and it wasn't included in. Okay, all right, fair enough.
Yeah, she's said it more than once. It's just those 2 interviews with Colborn that she did and excerpts from her deposition.
Does anyone else see the irony here?
Yeah,
we want you to give up what you paid and licensed, but we don't want to give up what we don't want to give up.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that they asked for those things to be not private.
You talk about the camera footage?
I'm talking about about both, on both sides. They're just because normally in a civil case everything's open.
Correct.
But they're just asking court to close off these few things. I don't know that the other side wanted them exposed necessarily.
Well,
maybe
Netflix,
she should have thought about that before she encouraged this guy to go to a lawsuit.
and kept encouraging them to talk. So there's a couple of interesting things that I noticed. These attorneys are quick to say we don't represent transition, we represent Brenda, but yet they go back to mention how much transition has spent in this endeavor. I found that interesting. Also, they are with the plaintiffs on restricting these. They are filing this motion in support of the plaintiff's motion to restrict these items. So the plaintiff wants these restricted because this will hurt their financial windfall, but they want the defendants to give it up, right? So they can, quote, prove their case, unquote. And we all know that's garbage.
Yep. Doc?
I agree with Sunshine Christina. It's rather ironical that Brenda is using the same excuse not to reveal her information that Netflix is using not to reveal the footage that they paid for, right? So plus the camera B footage. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? Pot calling the kettle black. How the judge must be looking at this and shaking his head. It's completely ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I don't know of anywhere she's ever been deemed a journalist. That was my initial thought. Whereas Mora and Demos most certainly are. There's a big difference.
Well, is she a documentarian? You know, that's a journalist.
Researcher, I guess, at best.
But she's also a producer.
Well, yeah, that role expanded. That role expanded.
That's a new title for this motion. She's now producing, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah, interesting. All right. Alice, if you want to continue there where it says here.
Yep. Here, the publication of the Schuler documents would effectively compel Miss Schuler as a news person to disclose the following that was obtained or prepared by Miss Schuler in her capacity in gathering, receiving, or preparing news or information for potential dissemination to the public. 1. Any news or information obtained or prepared in confidence by the news person. And or 2. Any other news, information, or identity of any source of any news or information. Further, while Miss Schuler may not have relied on such privileges and laws to restrict the parties and their counsel's access to the Schuler documents and her cooperation with her discovery obligations, Miss Schuler has not waived such privileges and laws to prevent the public from the Schuler documents and information contained therein. A disclosure to another person or dissemination to the public of news information or the identity of a source by a news person does not constitute a waiver of the protection from the compelled disclosure. Here, again, allowing the Schuler documents to be publicly available would effectively compel Miss Schuler to disclose otherwise protected information. That rationale is further supported by the fact that the parties and their counsels' access to the Schuler documents and information contained therein are governed by the protective order, while the public would not be bound by such limitations. Conclusion. Ms. Schuler respectfully requests that the court continue to restrict public access to the Schuler documents. Should the court require additional information regarding Ms. Schuler's position, she will and able to provide it. Should the court require or oral argument on the matter, Ms. Schuler respectfully requests that her counsel be permitted to appear via video conference or telephone to reduce costs.
And this was the 26th of October, so this just happened here last few days. Who else we got here? So yeah, this Nicholas Kurtz is the counsel for non-party Brenda Schuler, and it's the certificate. So interesting. And then if we go to document 300-1, Susan, do you feel like reading any at all tonight?
Sure, Jack, I can read.
Yeah, this is, I think, I guess this is a I guess it's a declaration. Yeah, it is a declaration, actually. So, yeah, if you want to, this is a 3-page document. So if you want to read through these.
Yeah, I'm just trying to bring it up here on my computer.
Oh, okay.
It's, did you say 300-1?
Yeah, it's the attachment to 300. Yep, that's correct. 300-1. It's in the Discord open mic.
I have it in my computer.
Oh, okay.
I have it downloaded. My computer is so freaking 300-1. There it is. Come on.
Thinking about it?
Okay. It's here. This is Declaration of Non-Party Brenda Schuler in response to motion to restrict filed by defendants in connection with their motions for summary judgment. I, Brenda Schuler, hereby certify pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1746 that the statements set forth below are true and correct to the best of my knowledge, information, and belief. I have personal knowledge of the matters set forth herein, and if called upon to testify to the facts in this declaration, I could and would testify competently thereto. Number 1, I am not a party in the above referenced case. Number 2, I submit this declaration in response to the motions to restrict of defendants Netflix, Inc., and Laura Riccardi, Moira Demos, and Crow Media, LLC, the producer defendants, in support of defendant's motion for summary judgment. 3, I have appeared for a full day of deposition and produced documents, over 1,500 pages of documents, pursuant to a subpoena issued by Netflix. Number 4, defendants have submitted the following records for which I respectfully request remain restricted from public access. The, quote, Schuler documents. Exhibit 26 filed as conditionally restricted by the producer defendants, transcript of interview with plaintiff Andrew Colborn in connection with the yet unreleased film project currently titled Convicting a Murderer. Exhibit 27 filed as conditionally restricted by the producer defendants, transcript of interview with plaintiff Andrew Colborn in connection with the yet unreleased film project currently titled Convicting a Murderer. Excuse me. Exhibit 41, filed as conditionally restricted by Netflix. Excerpts of Ms. Schuler's deposition transcript. Number 5, I am a producer of the unreleased film project currently titled Convicting a Murderer. The Convicting a Murderer project is intended to serve as a follow-up to the Making a Murderer series at issue in this case. Number 6, relevant to the instant motions to restrict, I produced transcripts of 2 interviews with plaintiff Andrew Colborn conducted in connection with Convicting a Murderer and testified about the project in my deposition, for which defendants are using in support of their motions for summary judgment, the Schuler documents. While a trailer teaser for Convicting a Murderer has been publicly released, the project has not been completed and released to the public in its entirety. Further, while a few seconds of an interview with Colborn appeared in the trailer/teaser, the entirety of the interviews with Colborn were not part of the publicly released trailer/teaser and have not otherwise been made public. Number 8, the production company for Convicting a Murderer, Transition Studios, has expended significant resources in producing the project. Number 9, the interviews and my testimony about the Convicting a Murderer project derive potential economic value in remaining confidential and proprietary. That value will be lost if other parties also interested in preparing potentially competing works related to the same subject matter are able to obtain them. I declare under penalty of perjury under the laws of the United States that the foregoing is true and correct. October 25th, 2022, 5 days ago.
Yep. So another very recent.
Sorry for my voice.
You're fine. You sound wonderful as always. A little stuffed up, but you're such a great reader.
Thank you.
I mean, it's bloody. So they want, they want Netflix and Laura and Moira to hand over every bit of hours that they've collected and everything like that, no problem. But they're not wanting to do the same on their side and coming up with the same excuse. You know what I mean?
Laura and Moira have handed that stuff over. They just don't want it public.
Yeah.
The same.
They want it sealed. They want it to remain sealed. Which, I mean, to me, it should. I can't really disagree with them with transition wanting the Colborn interviews to remain sealed, until they release the series. I can't blame them for that either. I am a little surprised that this other material has not been released, because the judge actually said twice that he was going to unseal it, but that's yet to happen. The next,
emails or what?
the text messages. There's I don't know what other material there. Yeah, there's other material as well. It's remained in the wraps that we haven't been given access to.
Are they text or email?
They're text messages that apparently when it got converted in whatever program app they used, it looks like an email.
Okay.
That's what that's my understanding.
The 4,000 you're talking about.
That's correct, and we've seen some, but nothing like all of them. Yep. And she said she's produced over 1,500 pages of documents, so I would imagine a lot. I imagine a lot of that is most certainly the those text messages. So, the next document. Did I miss a document? Don't tell me I missed a document.
Jack and Susan, I can read if you want me to.
Yeah, if you want to, Daryl, you can read. Hold on, let me check one thing.
Just tell me where to go.
Can I talk about Brenda's attorney while y'all do that? Is that okay?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just tell me where to look for
open mic text. I think there's a link in there, Neverly.
There is.
Yeah, open mic text, Everly.
Yeah, Nick Kurtz, Brenda Schuler's attorney, even though it looks like he is in California, is actually an Illinois attorney. He went to law school. He went to Loyola. I can never say that name right. Loyola? Say it, somebody who knows how. Loyola, I think.
Loyola?
It's Loyola.
Loyola.
Yeah, and that is a really good law school. So he's bright. But he did his undergrad at American in Washington, which I find interesting, simply because there are several attorneys in the AG's office who also did undergrad in Washington. He also has a practice in DC, in Virginia, Illinois, and California. Now, he plays soccer, which is interesting, because if I recall correctly, Josh Call played soccer as well. Both of them played collegiate soccer. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm not saying they know each other. I just find it interesting because Josh Call was a Baltimore ADA for a while before he came home to be the AG. So just some little fun facts.
Interesting. Now, Neverly, if you can read, there's the two of these are actually text only things that Sri got for us.
Yes.
The first one is 302.
Sure,
Apparently, I don't have 301, but it references it here in
I
this
have
first one. Go ahead.
302? They're just two slides, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's 302, and then we have another PDF, and then we'll have, which is 303, and then the last one's 304, which is another text. So you can read 302 right now.
Okay. Sure. Text-only order signed by Judge Brett Ludwig on 10/26/2022 regarding 301 unopposed motion for leave to file excess pages. The motion is granted. The court previously permitted defendants to file opening summary judgment brief up to 45 pages in excess of the 30-page limit imposed by Civil LR 56B8. Plaintiff will receive the same treatment. Accordingly, the court will allow plaintiff to file response briefs up to 45 pages. Plaintiff is also encouraged to focus on his best arguments and exclude that which is extraneous or collateral. The court looks kindly on concise arguments. So this is just the expansion of the pages, how many they can use.
Yeah,
correct?
apparently 301. Yeah, that they wanted
last couple lines are hilarious.
Yeah. He's telling them basically keep it concise. Don't waste my time. Yeah, apparently 301 is they asked to add pages, kind of like Kathleen's done them before, because they can't get it all in 30 pages. So and he granted that, but up to only 45 pages.
I think both sides have, right?
I mean, what can he say that's more than one page other than I didn't watch the whole damn thing? I mean, he's gonna lose. What arguments is he gonna have that's gonna equal even 30 pages?
Yeah. Bunch of legalese.
And Neverly, if you want to pull up documents 303, I'll get it on the screen, and you can. Looks like a couple pages here. You can read that one as well.
Sure. Andrew Colborn, plaintiff. Netflix Incorporated defendants. Plaintiff Civil LR7H expedited motion for clarification of prior text-only order. Plaintiff, by his undersigned counsel, respectfully moves the court for clarification of the October 26, 2022 text order permitting him to exceed the pages limits for his response to the defendant's two respective summary judgment motions to clarify that he may submit a combined response to both motions. In support of this motion, plaintiff states as follows. Number one, the court granted plaintiff's prior motion to exceed page limits otherwise applicable by local rule, granting the plaintiffs up to 45 pages to respond to each of the defendant's motions. Number two, plaintiff is in the process of editing his responses to defendant's motion. While a final decision has not been made, a combined response that addresses both of defendant's motions is strongly being considered, as it may be more logical and easier to read and follow for the court and parties. Number three, defendant's counsel had previously indicated that they did not object to a motion to leave the file to file response briefs of 45 pages if plaintiff responds separately to each defendant's brief or to file a combined brief up to 90 pages. Number four, plaintiff's counsel apologizes to the court if his prior motion was confusing regarding this issue. Dated this 28th day of October 2022.
There you go. And then the final one is 304, and I'll pull it up. And Never, you might as well stay on a roll here.
Sure. I don't know if I have 304.
It's in the open mic text. It's in the open mic text room. It's the last one. You'll see it there. It's a text only.
I'm so sorry I didn't see it. I have I see 303, 300, 303.1, and 299.
That's weird. It's at the very bottom. It's the last one that's posted. It's text only. That's okay. I can read it. It's on the screen. 304. That's okay.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Yes. Okay. Text only order signed by Judge Brett Ludwig on 10/28/2022 regarding 303 motion to clarify. The motion is granted. If he so chooses, plaintiff may submit one combined response to both pending motions for summary judgment. This combined response may exceed the 30-page limit imposed by Civil LR 56B8. That said, the court expects that combining the responses will result in some efficiency, and while not a requirement, suggests that plaintiff could likely make his case in 65 to 70 pages. Again, the court looks kindly on concise arguments.
There you go.
Damn.
So,
Basically, to me, that what he's saying there, fuck your 90 pages, I'll give you 65 to 70, and if it's not done within that, then it's a load of shit.
Well, that's basically what he's saying. You keep your arguments concise and to the point. Don't stroke me on here and put a bunch of shit in there that you don't need it. Again, I just, as I stand here, as I sit here now, and everything we've read through, I don't know. I haven't read it pretty much any time during this weekend, and I usually do. It was probably Wednesday or Thursday. I saw a post, I think in the MAM sub, and someone was talking about this film footage, this camera A footage, and basically some of the guilters are saying that the Mora and Laura or Demos and Ricardi are lying. And my response to that is that if they turn this footage over to the judge, he's going to see if they're lying or not. I mean, I don't think they're lying at all. I just don't.
No.
No reason to. They've really got no reason to. The only people that I see that have got a reason to lie their fucking faces off is Andrew Colborn and Brenda Schuler. That's it. They're the only ones that I can see that would have a reason to fucking lie about anything.
Well, we have to wonder about, there's also, we can't forget about in their third week of July, Colborn, or not Colborn, but Griesbach cut his losses and moved on. He's gone. Don't know we don't really know all the reasons why. I mean, we can speculate, but
I hope that means because if it goes to trial, he's got to testify.
It's nobody's fault but Andy's for looking so guilty. I don't care where that footage was taken from. He still looked guilty as hell. He looked like he was lying to me. Whether it was an answer to a certain question or not, he still, it was him on camera.
With the call in for the plates when he looked guilty, like
the questioning, on the stand.
All of it.
And somebody was there that's made comment here recently in the last month about how Andrew looked actually in the courtroom. They were there, and he was sweaty and clammy and didn't look well. Can't remember who that.
They were collecting his vial of sweat for later plans.
Yes.
I just still cannot believe who gave him such ill advice to claim that he got a divorce due to the stress over this Netflix business. That's really, dude, you gotta make your circle of friends closer to you.
Well,
Maybe that's
then,
what's in the
Gotta,
4,000 texts.
well, then we found out narrowly
yeah,
that he couldn't keep it in his pants. He let his Johnson out to play, and
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we can fix that.
Well, I know you can. You got the you have the tools there at your work. So
It's
I mean,
funny,
is
you guys. The other day, one of the doctors I work with, he likes to advertise or to, teach people actually and he posts all these little short videos as a teachable moment on Instagram. So I found one and I sent it to Jack and I said, here you go, Jack. We have a roofing hammer working over here on the Johnson, right? Where in actuality, the doctor was repairing the hip, so it was really like, a crime scene looking. And he had this surgical mallet and he was banging on this tool that was inside the hip. It was really graphic. Yeah. But I'm like, there you go. He always teaches me about Johnsonectomies and yeah.
Yeah.
well, and Doc, we can't forget about the Woodcock Johnson stuff that come up in Brendan's trial and all that. Oh my God, that's funny.
So wait, is that what you mean when you say you gotta hit the head?
I was going to say we've got an excellent potential sponsorship deal going on here, Jack 61 with Foul Play.
Absolutely,
Foul Play and Johnson's.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Back to the subject. Do we know to this day, almost last day of October, has convicting been wrapped up and ready to go? And has it been picked up?
No. Well, she just said this is 5 days ago. It's not done.
Well, that one was
okay. So that's why I asked what the date was. So it was okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not done yet, Neverly, because she's waiting to find out what's happening with this court case and everything like that.
Thank you.
So that they can put it into convicting. That they can turn around and say, oh, well, Mr. Colborn won his court case. So if Mr. Colborn won his court case, then making a murderer must be false. That's exactly what we were
that sounds like Amber saying we won in the UK trial when she wasn't even a party to it.
Exactly, Neverly, exactly. The reason why convicting hasn't been finished yet or took up by somebody yet is because they've went, no, wait, this case is going to happen. We want to get the information for this court case because I think they all thought it was going to go Colborn's way so that they can then have their hooray moment in convicting and be like, see, we told you making a murderer was not real.
And now it's blown up. It's like Doc said, it's a master pile of clusterfuck.
Yeah. But I mean, what Colborn and that's got to remember though, Jack, is the fact that it wasn't how he looked on the stand that everybody thought he was a dirty bastard. It was their actions. It was every single one between Kratz right the way through to Gann, right the way through every fucking cop that was ever on that property or whatever. It wasn't how they acted in the courtroom that convinced people that they were dirty, shady bastards. It was their actions that convinced everybody, or their non-actions and non-reports and everything like that, air quotes. You know what I mean? That convinced everybody that they were a bunch of shady bastards.
Well, it really goes back to what Doc said a little while ago, and the truth is, Manitowoc County shouldn't have been involved in that at all. That should have been handed off and walked away.
Yep. Not one cop. I mean, you try to tell me all the wee counties and things like that are ruined, Two Rivers and everything like that they couldn't get different police officers to come in. I mean, surely they could have had cops coming from Green Bay, Appleton, what's that one? Walk Apart or whatever it's called. You know what I mean? And all the other ones round about that they had to have Manitowoc on that property.
Yeah. Sheboygan's another pretty large county. Green Bay certainly has a very large police force. And then we can't forget that if you go through and you look at all the different DCI reports, I think I counted them one time. I think there was 40 or 50 different DCI agents that turned in reports of some type or another. Now, of course, the buck of them are Fassbender and, Deb Strauss and those people, but there are a ton of different DCI agents that wrote some report, one flavor or another. So,
yeah.
So that in itself,
Andy would never have gotten a hate message, phone calls, death threats had he recused himself.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Doc?
Sorry, Doc, on you go.
No. Go for it, Alice.
I was just going to say, we wouldn't be sitting here right now and over the last 3 to 5 years. I mean, I've been on it 3 years now. Yous have been on it 5, 6 years now. We would not be here pulling this fucking thing apart if Manitowoc County, if all of them had recused themselves for this whole fucking situation. We would not be here.
I don't know about that. We might.
If we were here, I think the circumstances would be entirely different, right?
But I think it went all the way up to Peg, so I think possibly.
Yeah.
We could still be here.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Colborn did find the car on the 3rd. Had he not found that car on the 3rd in Manitowoc, we would never have been here. Because then they wouldn't have been able to plant it on his property, and everything stemmed from that planting, right? Mm-hmm. So, yes, without MTSO, I don't think we would be here. I don't think he would have been convicted. Think about it. Even the jury wouldn't have convicted him. I think even if they put on this case with a different jury, I think it might have been different. But the jury was from Manitowoc too.
Yeah, agreed. Well, guys, we've been at it here for a minute. Doc, did you have a comment? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
Yes, I did. And it really goes to the fundamental aspect of this case. And I know I keep on saying it, and I still believe that it is highly relevant. One has to compare the state's response to Christine Rudy's murder compared to Teresa Horbach's murder.
Absolutely.
Why massive difference if in the end it involved the loss of a life of a lady? In both cases, both Christine Rudy and Teresa Horbach were murdered in a brutal fashion, in a pattern matched. The identity and similarity of both their murders is incredibly similar. My question is, what is the fundamental difference between the loss of both these beautiful people's lives? Why in one murder investigation there's bugger all of a response, and Christine Rudy was pregnant and missing at the time? There was none of this mania. There was none of this publicity. There was none of this over the top, everyone coming out of the woodwork wanting to find out what happened to this poor lady. Yet, in Teresa Horbach's murder investigation, the whole freaking damn state showed up at the salvage yard. So the question is, what is the sting in the tail, guys? The sting in the tail is that Stephen had a $36 million civil lawsuit. Sean Rudy didn't. So we have to always go back to the fundamental principles, and that's why we're here today with this argument regarding Colborn. What is the difference? Why was there such a massive unilateral response in the Stephen Avery trial? If we can answer that, I think we're going to get closer to those who had great motive to see Stephen go back in prison.
Well, just to add to that, and you said it, Christine Rudy was pregnant, and they had a few
Correct.
officers. They had a few officers show up out there and kind of pilfered around. When the RAV was found, it was immediate. It was a storm that hit the Avery salvage yard, and they took that. Go ahead.
Remember the news footage
Yes.
of all the cars? Like he was like Smokey and the Bandit, right? Everyone descended down on the salvage yard as though they were ready and primed. Isn't that interesting?
Absolutely. It was like this guy could have been Ed Gein or some of these other ones that they found a killing field of people, of bodies that they were digging up. That was how massive the intrusion was into the Avery salvage yard. It was crazy.
Correct. But Ed Gein was found mentally insane. So he was put in a mental asylum, right? There you go.
And that other one we talked about, that Kempfer from the early 70s.
Yes, yes.
He was, part of Silence of the Lambs was based on him. Because the guy, apparently, the guy was genius. He was very, very intelligent.
Yeah, most of those serial killers are. They're not stupid people. They are meticulous. A lot of them have got incredible memory, incredible recall. And like I said, the BTK killer went into minute detail of everything he did.
Yeah.
And he did it with pride.
Recalling stuff from years earlier, right? Years.
Correct.
Yeah, that's some wiring that is definitely unique. But
correct. 100%. And that's why we're reading this book by the FBI profilers. And this case has still got a long way to go. It's not solved yet.
No. Just before we go, Jack, I would like to say it's now the 31st here in the UK, so I would like to pay my respects to Teresa. It's a sin what happened to that poor lassie. She still hasn't got justice, and I would just like to say rest in peace, Teresa, from all the UK supporters. Basically, it's a bloody sin, and we'll keep fighting to find out who really did this for you. It's a shame, and it's just out of respect that I want to say that God rest your wee soul.
Absolutely. Well said.
I think it might be appropriate that we have just a moment of silence in honor of Teresa.
Works for me. And we'll start that now. All right. Absolutely. Rest in peace for this young lady that whatever happened and got caught up in is, even for someone that, we didn't really know her. We have very small glimpses and snapshots of her life. But, for her, it would probably be, just from what I can gather, it would probably be extremely embarrassing for her to, all these years later, all this and her name being so widely distributed throughout the world for all these years now. We're moving into almost 7 years since Making a Murder was released. Right, Susan? On your birthday. Your birthday.
That's right.
So.
Yep.
All righty, folks. Again, without adding one speck of ego or anything else to any of this, I fought against it originally. I didn't really want to do any kind of outward audio video kind of thing. It was because, again, I understand the the nature of how you detract from your goal, and I never want that to be a part of who I am. And I think I feel justified in saying that's not about who Foul Play is and many of its members that are along for the ride. Hey, it's great to be recognized for hard work, and we should always do that. That should always happen, because we've got some great researchers in the community, people that have put in a lot of time. It's free, it's voluntary, because we want the truth. It doesn't matter where it goes. We want the truth wherever it goes, and we're going to continue to go after that truth and try to complete this larger picture of this case and what these investigators and prosecutors did. So, really proud of everyone. I can't thank everyone enough for the support, and I've gotten so many messages over the last year plus over these different open mics that we've done, saying thanks, great job. I take that stuff to heart. I don't look for it, but I do. Everyone appreciates it. It does take effort to do this. There's no doubt. I mean, when we start on I know Doc and Everly, they can talk about how much they have to prepare. When you prepare for a live, you kind of got to get your ducks in a row, depending on what you want to present. So that takes time, and it takes effort and energy. I'm glad to do it. I want to do it, for us as a group, as a community. So I can't thank you enough. Yeah. I can't.
Hey, sorry, Jack. Case 10 says, can we talk about Chuck now? 100th episode should go for 100 hours.
That's funny, Case 10. We'll maybe at some point here in the not too distant future, we'll go back through Chuck's incident reports, and because they're dreadful, I tell you. Maybe we'll do that sometime. But I wanted to do this one. The next open mic we're going to, unless something happens, legally, is going to be about Dead Strauss. And part 2, we're going to continue on. Big Jeff will be back and be part of the conversation. Hopefully Jeff and, anyone that wants to join can come and be part of that conversation. So with that said, anybody got anything else they want to say before we go? We all good?
I just wanted to quickly say, Jack 61, we all respect you. We all salute you. You're a brother, and your work, your continued work and devotion to the cause is an inspiration, I know, for me and for everyone on the panel. And I'm so glad you're part of the Foul Play team, good buddy. Well done.
Thanks, Doc. Means a lot. Really appreciate that. Really do.
Yeah, I just like to echo that, Jack. It's lovely to be a part of it. I can't believe it's been 100 already. I hope it's 200 by this time next year, at the very least.
Disco.
Well
I wasn't even looking at the Discord screen, so you snuck in on me.
You're backdoor woman.
Yeah, you go. Hey, thanks for dropping by and the kind words. So anyway, all right, let's get on out of here. We've been at it, it looks like 3 hours and 26 minutes. So let's get out of here and get everybody some supper. Right, Susan? I'm starving. And we'll go again for the next time. With that said, hold on, there we go. With that said, this has been a Foul Play production.